Chen Xuan traversed the ancient wasteland continent to become the master of the declining Misty Sect. He thought he would live out his life in the mountains, but suddenly the system descended and rewarded him with emperor-level cultivation and an ultimate weapon. He was to recruit disciples and develop the sect. Ancient Wasteland Continent, Eastern Domain Wasteland Prefecture, Misty Sect. In front of a grave, a man in ragged clothes sat on the ground, grieving abnormally, his voice hysterical. Master, you've been gone for 10 years. Do you know how I've lived these 10 years? If I hadn't believed your lies, I would never have agreed to cultivate with you. You deceived me so. Chen Xuan sat on the ground wailing tears, and snot smearing across the grave with no hint of the bearing a cultivator should have. 10 years ago, he was still a decent young man working in a factory, living a monotonous life every day. Though an orphan without relatives, his heart was filled with sunshine, always walking toward the light. According to his plan, he would first work for 10 years to save some money, then open a breakfast shop at the factory gate, find a girlfriend, have 2 children, and live a good life. But one night the factory suddenly lost power. He was ordered to turn off the assembly line switch, but accidentally pulled off the wire. Then a flash of white light, and the factory came back on. His head spun, and he appeared in a fantastical place known as the Ancient Wasteland Continent. Yes, the Ancient Wasteland Continent, the world beneath his feet. Upon first arriving, he heard it was a world of immortals where talent determined one's achievements in cultivation. But it was also a dangerous world full of cultivators, demon beasts, and monsters. He once saw with his own eyes a demon lord manifest, its true form blotting out the sun and covering the sky, bigger than a mountain, and devour an entire city's people in one bite. He also saw a human strongman cleave the demon beast in two with a single sword strike, and even witnessed a scene of thousands of cultivators flying in the sky. This filled him with longing for this world. Because normally as a transmigrator he should be the chosen one, destined to be fought over by great powers, then rise up, defeat all enemies, and have empresses and princesses vying for his love. A proud dragon's happy life. But reality was the opposite. The ancient wasteland continent was so vast that an ordinary person like him could not go far. He couldn't even leave even a corner of the Eastern Domain's wasteland prefecture. Later, refusing to accept fate, he borrowed money at high interest to buy the most basic cultivation manual. But after months of training, there was no reaction at all. Whether he was scammed or not, he couldn't tell. Finally, the loan sharks came after him, and he had to flee in the night from his hovel, becoming a homeless wanderer. Later, during his wanderings, he heard of a recruitment assembly for disciples and thought his chance had come. He braved countless dangers, traveled over mountains and rivers to sign up, but no sect would accept him, completely crushing his protagonist's dream. Leaving the recruitment assembly, he became a complete tramp. Later, at death's door, he finally met an old man with a sage-like aura, his master, who was now lying peacefully in that grave. At that time, the old man fed him a pill which immediately revived his weary body, making him feel as strong as a tiger. He was overjoyed, believing he had finally met a far-sighted senior. Then, full of anticipation, the old man spoke those classic words with a kind face. "Young man, I see that you have bright eyes and white teeth, looks like jade, elegant, suave, and with extraordinary talent. Truly a rare, monstrous genius. Though you are now like a pearl covered in dust, with a good teacher, you will soon shine brightly, illuminating countless mountains and rivers. I am the 107th patriarch of the Misty Sect. Would you be willing to become my disciple? From now on, embark on the path of glory and save the common people of the world." Hearing the old man's questions, seeing his magnetic gaze, how could Chen Xuan need? Of course not. He had been begging, sleeping in the wind, nearly dead. Now he finally met a perceptive strongman who praised him to the skies. Not agreeing would be against heaven's will. So without a second thought, he knelt and kowtowed to become his disciple. But what he never expected was that life after apprenticeship would be the start of a nightmare. After becoming his disciple, he learned that the old man was seriously wounded, had only a short time to live, and could not even fly. They had to walk back to the sect. Along the way, the old man grew weaker, and Chen Xuan served him tea and water, attending to him all the way. More attentive than when he had served his girlfriend. And so the two of them trudged for a full 6 months before finally reaching the foot of the Luangu Mountains and the sect. But just then the master could no longer hold on and passed away. Before dying, he still remembered to pass the position of sect master to Chen Xuan, making him the 108th patriarch of the Misty Sect. Master just died as soon as I became his apprentice. Heaven wants me to reach the peak the moment I join the sect. Thinking thus, Chen Xuan was thrilled, carrying his master's corpse up the mountain. When he finally reached the sect, he was completely dumbfounded. Before him was no glorious sect, but a stretch of broken walls and ruins. What nonsense about a peak period with tens of thousands of disciples and countless strong men inside the sect. It was all lies. Now, apart from a few undestroyed buildings, there wasn't even a ghost. So seeing this scene, Chen Xuan burst into tears on the spot. What damn chosen one, what sect master? This is a bloody scam that kills without compensation. The Luangu Mountains. How could an ordinary person like him find his way out? Helpless Chen Xuan could only settle in the sect and start a hermit life. But what made Chen Xuan even more despairing was that he tried to cultivate using the legacy his master left behind, but there was still no effect. He even began to doubt if the cultivation method was fake. But even if it was fake, there was no helping it because the Luangu Mountains were full of fierce beasts and wild animals. A mere commoner like him could never get out. Thus days passed one after another. In the mountain 10 years felt like a single day. Very slowly 10 years went by. One morning Chen Xuan woke from cultivation, sensing the existence of spiritual energy, and finally entered the first realm of cultivation. The Qi. For a moment Chen Xuan was so excited that he cried again. He went to the grave and began to complain to his master. Master, you really know how to lie. 10 years of Qi refining first layer. My talent is even worse than a dog. And you said I had heavenly talent and told me to save the world. You just didn't want the Misty Sect to die out. Why did you have to trick me so badly? You may be at peace, but your disciple is truly in despair. Chen Xuan got more and more worked up, but then his stomach growled, forcing him to stop his rant. He wiped the tears from his eyes, stood up unsteadily, deciding to eat first, and then come back to continue complaining. After all, time in the mountains is endless, plenty of time to waste. But just as he stood up, suddenly an ethereal voice resounded in his mind. Ding! 15-year charging completed. Congratulations, host, for successfully binding the 10,000 Realms Ultimate Sect system. Boom. The sound rang out. Chen Xuan's whole body trembled, stunned. System. Damn, there really is a system. Great. When did you come, system? I've been waiting so long. For a moment Chen Xuan was incredibly excited. If the system hadn't shown up, he had already planned to live out his life in the mountains. He never expected a system to really come. Indeed, fiction never lies. Under Chen Xuan's excitement, the system immediately gave an answer. Ding. This system was already with the host before the transmigration, but there was a small accident during crossing. Sorry for the wait. It was already there before I crossed over. Suddenly Chen Xuan was stunned, even more dumbfounded. So it had been there for 15 years. Damn. And now it shows up. Thinking of these 15 years, Chen Xuan's heart churned with waves, and he said emotionally, 15 years. 15 years. Do you know how I lived these 15 years? Ding. I apologize. This system will compensate the host. The system's voice carried an apologetic tone. Compensation. Chen Xuan was stunned again. His sorrow instantly stemmed. His eyes shifted. He pressed. What compensation? I warn you, if it's too poor, I won't accept it. Compensation 1, Emperor level cultivation. Is that acceptable? After a moment, the system tested. As soon as these words were spoken, Chen Xuan's eyes immediately widened. Emperor level cultivation. Did the system say it wrong, or did he mishear? This was the highest realm in the ancient wasteland continent. Chen Xuan said incredulously, what did you say? Compensation 1, Emperor level cultivation plus 1 ultimate weapon, the Supreme Emperor Sword. Is that acceptable? This is the maximum compensation this system can offer. The system thought the compensation was not enough, so it added another weapon. Hearing this, Chen Xuan completely broke down. 15 years in exchange for an Emperor level cultivation plus an ultimate weapon. Worth it. Totally worth it. So he nodded immediately like a hungry chicken, saying yes, yes, very yes. Quick, claim the compensation. The Great Emperor, the supreme cultivation level of the barren ancient continent. The saying that all beneath the Great Emperor are mere ants is the ultimate proof of his power. Though there exists a realm above the Great Emperor, the Immortal. Yet the Immortal has never appeared. Even the great emperors of the past desperately sought its existence, suggesting that the Immortal may be but an ethereal realm, perhaps non-existent. Thus the Great Emperor stands as the mightiest force on the continent. A single drop of blood can slay gods and demons. A strand of hair can crush the ancient firmament. As for the ultimate Tao weapon, it is a peerless treasure, no less formidable than the Great Emperor himself. A weapon of such extreme power that it earns the name Ultimate Tao Weapon, an exclusive artifact of the Great Emperor. The materials required to forge an ultimate Tao weapon are exceedingly rare. Many great emperors spend their entire lives unable to gather enough for a single one. Hence, not every great emperor possesses such a weapon. But those great emperors who wield an ultimate Tao weapon are of the most formidable kind. It is said that a peak great emperor with an ultimate Tao weapon can even contend with an immortal. Even without the great emperor's presence, a single ultimate Tao weapon can sweep through all realms beneath the great emperor. From this, one can imagine the sheer might of both the great emperor and the ultimate Tao weapon. Now that he has obtained both rewards, he can stride unhindered across the barren ancient continent. Even encountering an ancient great emperor would not daunt him. Integrating the Great Emperor cultivation. Please prepare to receive host. With the system's prompt, the Great Emperor's cultivation began to pour into Chen Xuan. In an instant, Chen Xuan's entire being trembled as he devoted himself wholly to receiving the Great Emperor's cultivation. Boom, boom, boom. The cultivation flooded his body. His aura shifted, and his realm began to surge. In the blink of an eye, he traversed the 9 heavens of the Qi refining realm, and reached the foundation establishment stage. The frenzied speed of breakthrough left even Chen Xuan's mind reeling with awe. Yet the cultivation being infused into him was but a single drop in an endless ocean. One can only imagine the terrifying heights he would reach once he fully absorbed that vast sea. Boom. Foundation establishment ninth heaven. Boom. Spiritual sea convergence. Spiritual sea ninth heaven. Boom. Soaring sky realm. Spirit condensation realm. Heavenly king realm. Imperial extreme realm. Quasi-saint. Saint. Quasi-emperor realm. Boom. As Chen Xuan's cultivation surpassed the quasi-emperor stage, continuous explosions resounded from within his body. His flesh and blood were evolving, his cells undergoing transformation. Boom, 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 boom. A series of muffled booms echoed. All 66 trillion cells within Chen Xuan's body underwent an ultimate metamorphosis. Then all 206 bones in his body shattered, their constraints transcending the very rules of heaven and earth, no longer bound even by the laws of. In an instant the surrounding void warped and countless Tao rhythms flowed into his flesh and blood. After an unknown span of time, Chen Xuan completed the most terrifying ultimate evolution. Every inch of his flesh pulsed with Tao rhythms. Even if his lifespan reached its end, this body would remain immortal for eons upon eons. If he fully unleashed his aura, the surrounding void would likely collapse under the pressure. Feeling his newfound power, Chen Xuan slowly opened his eyes, his pupils filled with shock. Damn, this body is incredible. A single drop of essence blood can suppress myriad gods and demons, and a strand of hair can crush the ancient firmament. Truly no exaggeration. If I release my suppression, even a wisp of my aura would shatter the entire Misty Sect. Good thing the system helped suppress my breakthrough aura. Otherwise 10,000 miles around would have been crushed. After a moment of marvel, Chen Xuan continued, claim Tai Wang's sword. Ding. Tai Wang's sword has been issued. Please check. Suddenly the void before him trembled, and an ancient longsword slowly tore through the space, materializing before Chen Xuan. The Tai Wang sword appeared calm and unassuming with 3 large characters, Tai Wang's sword, carved on its blade. Though it seemed unremarkable, Chen Xuan knew the sword contained immense power. Once fully awakened, even a saint could not withstand it. So Chen Xuan raised his hand and grasped the hilt of the Tai Wang sword. In an instant the sword's aura fully awakened, resonating with Chen Xuan. At that moment Chen Xuan felt that a casual swing could sink an entire province. The thought made his hands itch with eagerness. With a flicker he vanished, shooting straight into the sky. In the blink of an eye he arrived in the starry void. Gazing at a distant star, Chen Xuan raised his sword and slashed. In an instant a distant star exploded into dust. Simultaneously on the barren ancient continent, the mighty experts observing the celestial phenomena were, what happened? The star has vanished. It didn't vanish, it exploded. It seems something blasted it apart. Could some anomaly be occurring in the starry sky? The experts observing the heavens were alarmed. Meanwhile, many ancestral masters of sacred lands abruptly opened their eyes, gazing into the distance. I sensed the aura of a great emperor, and the presence of an imperial weapon. Could a great emperor have awakened? The great era approaches. Pass down the order, double all cultivation resources for disciples of the sacred lands, and open the secret realms. A great emperor has emerged. 8th brother, 9th brother, follow me to the starry sky to pay homage. In the starry void, Chen Xuan smacked his lips at the shattered star. The power of a great emperor combined with an ultimate Tao weapon is truly formidable. With a mere gesture one can pluck stars and cleave the moon. All these years of struggle have not been in vain. Ding. Detected a 10-star genius. Host is requested to recruit a disciple. Suddenly the system's cool voice rang out. Chen Xuan then realized he had yet to fully understand the system's functions. So he asked casually, "System, what functions do you have? Are there rewards for taking disciples? If there are no rewards, or they're too shabby, I'm afraid I won't accept. After all, I already have the great emperor's cultivation and an ultimate Tao weapon. I don't need scraps." The system was speechless. Boss, giving you great emperor cultivation and an ultimate Tao weapon wasn't meant for you to slack off. The system, on the verge of tears, explained bitterly. It's not difficult. Very simple. Then tell me about it. Chen Xuan nodded and slowly sheathed the Tai Wang sword. As if one with him, obediently sank into his spiritual sea, basking in the nourishment of qi. Alright. This system is called the Supreme Sect of the Myriad Realms system. As the name implies, you need to develop your sect into the strongest across all realms. And developing a sect naturally requires disciples, so you must recruit them to fill the sect. To motivate your enthusiasm for recruitment, the rewards are as follows. Recruiting a disciple with potential above 10 stars rewards an outrageously generous recruitment gift pack guaranteed to contain at least one immortal summoning card with other random rewards. Recruiting a 10-star potential disciple rewards a luxurious recruitment gift pack guaranteed to contain 2 Great Emperor summoning cards and 2 Saint summoning cards with other random rewards. Recruiting a 9-star potential disciple rewards a premium recruitment gift pack guaranteed to contain 2 Saint summoning cards with other random rewards. Recruiting a disciple with potential below 9 stars but above 6 stars rewards a standard recruitment gift pack containing 1 Heavenly King summoning card. Note all summoned experts are absolutely loyal to the host, and every 10 same-level summoning cards can be combined into a higher-level expert. Additionally, Great Emperor and Saint cards can only be combined once, not twice. Heavenly King cards are lower level and can be combined twice, but not thrice. Realm levels: Chi Refining Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Sea, Soaring Sky, Spirit Condensation, Heavenly King, Imperial Extreme, Saint, Great Emperor, Immortal. A 100% loyal powerhouse summoning card, and it can be synthesized. The rewards aren't bad. It's just that the requirements for taking on disciples are a bit high. Seeing the system's prompt, Chen Xuan fell into contemplation. However, with his cultivation as a Great Emperor, as long as he was determined to take on disciples, it wouldn't be difficult. After all, the Huanggu continent was vast enough that there were many 10-star talents. With this in mind, Chen Xuan nodded and said, "All right, I accept this quest. Great host." To facilitate the host in distinguishing the talents of disciples, the system has additionally rewarded a pair of inside eyes capable of detecting the talents and hidden talents of all individuals. A basic sect construction blueprint which can be used to build infrastructure. The infrastructure will come with a built-in super spirit gathering array. Please host, go and take on disciples quickly lest others snatch them away. Alright. Chen Xuan nodded, and his figure vanished in an instant, heading straight for the location the system had indicated. This location, as it happened, was also within the Great Prefecture where his own sect was situated. Huanggu Continent, Eastern Domain, Huang Prefecture. Atop a Tenthasanshang cliff, several sect disciples were pursuing a fellow disciple. "Lin Fan, you can't escape. It's better to surrender obediently. We brothers can give you a quick death." "No, we can't give him a quick death. I must torture him severely. He killed my own brother. I must make him suffer. Stop messing around. Kill him quickly and return to claim the reward. Senior brother Wang has promised that as long as we bring back Lin Fan's head, we can all enter the 2nd floor of the Divine Arts Pavilion to select a divine art." Several disciples wearing the robes of the Divine Sword Sect slowly closed in on the cliff. Meanwhile, Lin Fan, standing at the edge of the cliff covered in wounds, looked at the faces of his fellow disciples and could no longer hold back his laughter, which echoed towards the sky. "Ha ha ha, a bunch of lackeys. Wang Chong bullies his fellow disciples, seizes my resources. I only defended myself and injured him, yet the sect didn't seek justice for me. Instead, they expelled me and issued a kill order. Who is right and who is wrong? If I don't die today, I will surely kill Wang Chong, and I will surely kill all of you lackeys." Lin Fan roared towards the sky, venting the grief in his heart. He was originally an inner disciple of the Divine Sword Sect, a hegemonic power in Huang Prefecture. When he first entered the Divine Sword Sect as an outer disciple, he was filled with passion and wanted to serve the sect. Although his talent wasn't particularly high, relying on his innate comprehension of the way of the sword, he still managed to enter the inner sect and become a revered. He thought he would dedicate his entire life to the Divine Sword Sect. But then a disciple named Wang Chong, relying on his father being an elder, ran rampant in the inner sect, bullying fellow disciples, and countless female disciples fell victim to his evil deeds. However, for the sake of cultivation and repaying the sect for nurturing him, he endured it all. But Wang Chong went too far, even trying to kill him during an outdoor training expedition. And he merely defended himself, accidentally injuring Wang Chong. The sect, without distinguishing right from wrong, expelled him and issued a kill order against him. A sect like this truly grieved him. He felt his unwavering loyalty was wasted on dogs. Junior brother Wang did go too far, but who can blame him for being the biological son of the elder of the Divine Arts Pavilion? Perhaps if you had provoked someone else, things wouldn't have been so serious, but you shouldn't have provoked junior brother Wang. Unfortunately, today you will surely die. The fellow disciples' faces were full of disdain as they drew closer and closer. Looking at the crowd, Lin Fan also knew that he might not escape death. After all, the Divine Sword Sect was one of the 2 hegemonic powers in Huang Prefecture and the only hegemonic sect. As an insignificant figure having offended an elder of the Divine Sword Sect, it was almost impossible to escape the calamity of death and the destruction of his being. But even if he were to die, he would control his own fate. Lin Fan immediately roared towards the sky. "My fate is determined by me, not by the heavens." He turned around to jump off the cliff. But at that very moment, a figure suddenly appeared before him. "Wait, don't jump yet." Lin Fan was stunned, barely stopping his running start, and looked at the newcomer with confusion. An elder of the Divine Sword Sect. No, the Divine Sword Sect didn't have such a young elder. Could he be here to save him? That shouldn't be the case either. Throughout Huang Prefecture, the Divine Sword Sect was the only hegemonic sect. Who would dare to offend the Divine Sword Sect? As he was thinking this, the man spoke again, and his face was full of smiles. Young man, I see that you have bright eyes and white teeth, a face as beautiful as jade, a graceful demeanor, natural talent, and extraordinary ability. You are truly a rare, monstrous genius. Although you are like a pearl shrouded in dust right now, with the guidance of a famous teacher, it won't be long before the dust is gone, and the light shines forth, illuminating thousands of mountains and rivers. I am the 108th sect master of the Misty Cloud sect. Would you be willing to take me as your master? From then on, walk the path of fame and glory and save the common people of the world. God. At these words, not only was Lin Fan dumbfounded, but everyone around was also stunned. Taking on a disciple. Seriously, can't you see the current situation? And taking on a disciple who is being hunted by the Divine Sword Sect. Isn't this disregarding the Divine Sword Sect? And what kind of sect is the Misty Cloud sect? Never heard of it. Seeing this, a disciple immediately shouted coldly, "How dare you? A mere unranked sect dares to harbor a traitor of the Divine Sword Sect right in front of us. Do you want to oppose our Divine Sword Sect?" Silence. Without even turning his head, Chen Xuan raised his hand and delivered a slap. Boom. That disciple instantly turned into a mist of blood. For a moment, everyone gasped. Lin Fan especially widened his eyes. One move, instantly killing a cultivator at the 5th layer of the Spirit Sea realm. Who exactly is this man? He dares to offend the Divine Sword Sect. Could he be from a hidden sect that rarely emerges and is unaware of the Divine Sword Sect's reputation? Thinking this, Lin Fan quickly reminded him kindly, "Senior, you have killed someone from the Divine Sword Sect. The Divine Sword Sect is a hegemonic power in Huang Prefecture. They will not let you off. You should leave quickly to avoid trouble, right? How dare you kill someone from our Divine Sword Sect? You're finished. You're doomed. Even if you are a sky-soaring expert, you cannot escape the pursuit of our Divine Sword Sect. Kid, I advise you to surrender immediately and follow us back to the Divine Sword Sect to accept punishment. Otherwise, when the elders make a move, you will die without a doubt, no matter who you are." The disciples of the Divine Sword Sect threatened with full confidence. After all, there were many sky-soaring realm experts within their sect. Coupled with the immense reputation of the Divine Sword Sect, a reputation so great that just hearing it made one's legs go weak. So even knowing the person before them was very strong, they were not afraid at all. Heh, the mere Divine Sword Sect, I can destroy it with one hand. Chen Xuan's expression was calm and indifferent as he looked at Lin Fan and said, "So are you going to take me as your master or not? If you take me as your master, I'll kill them to vent your anger. If not, I'll be on my way." Huh, vent my anger. Lin Fan was startled and asked doubtfully, "Senior, have you heard about my story with the Divine Sword Sect?" "No, I haven't heard your story, but your face is written with stories." Chen Xuan smiled faintly, and information about Lin Fan appeared before him. Name: Lin Fan. Realm: 4th layer of the Spirit Sea realm. Physique: unawakened primordial sword body, one of the most domineering physiques of the primordial era. Has a natural affinity for the way of the sword. Upon awakening, it can command the sword to submit. At its peak, it transcends the way of the sword and can become an emperor by wielding a sword. Potential: 10 stars. Experience: inner disciple of the Divine Sword Sect. Endured countless hardships to join the sect. Entered the inner sect relying on his innate affinity for the sword. Worked diligently in the inner sect, but was bullied and secretly harmed by the elder's son. After resisting, was expelled and hunted by the sect. Detailed information. Chen Xuan was right. The other party's face was truly written with stories. So when he killed the Divine Sword Sect disciples earlier, he did not hesitate. Those who kill must be prepared to be killed. I am willing to take you as my master. Lin Fan hesitated for a moment, then directly agreed. At first, he was only afraid of implicating the Misty Cloud Sect. Now that the other party said he knew his story and claimed he could destroy the Divine Sword Sect with one hand, he must have an extraordinary background. Naturally, he was willing to take him as his master. After all, without a sect to protect him, he would eventually be killed by the Divine Sword Sect. Having someone willing to take him in was already a great kindness. Good. Then your master will first vent your anger for you. Chen Xuan nodded with satisfaction, then turned to look at the disciples of the Divine Sword Sect. Instantly, all the Divine Sword Sect disciples trembled. You dare. You dare. Killing us will lead to no good end. Fellow disciples attacked together. The disciples of the Divine Sword Sect trembled in terror, then launched a full assault on Chen Xuan. But before they could unleash their divine abilities, Chen Xuan snapped his fingers. Snap! A crisp sound echoed from his fingertips. In an instant, all the Divine Sword Sect disciples shuddered violently, and then, boom, 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 boom. Every one of them exploded into a mist of blood, scattering across the heavens, and earth vanishing without a trace. Hiss! Lin Fan's pupils contracted sharply once more. Heavens! A single snap of the fingers annihilated several spiritual sea cultivators. Even an Imperial Flight Realm cultivator couldn't achieve this. It required at least a spirit condensation elder. He had indeed chosen the right master. In that moment, Lin Fan's gaze toward Chen Xuan was filled with utter reverence. Disciple, want you kneel and kowtow to your master. A faint voice sounded, jolting the stunned Lin Fan back to reality. Lin Fan shuddered, then fell to his knees with a thud, exclaiming excitedly, "Disciple Lin Fan pays respects to master." Thump, thump, thump. 3 resounding kowtows echoed powerfully. Immediately after, a notification rang in Chen Xuan's mind. Ding! Congratulations, host, for accepting a 10-star potential disciple. The lavish disciple recruiting gift pack has been delivered. Good disciple, rise. Your master will take you back to the sect. Hearing the system's reward, Chen Xuan paid it no heed, beaming with joy as he lifted Lin Fan and soared into the sky. The Misty Cloud Sect. On the main peak, gazing at the desolate mountain peaks and dilapidated buildings around him, Lin Fan stood dumbfounded and said, "Master, is this the Misty Cloud Sect? Why is it so barren? Damn, I forgot to renovate the sect." Chen Xuan froze for a moment, then quickly made an excuse. This is all an illusion. Let your master dispel it and reveal the true sect." With that, he murmured inwardly. System, quickly use the sect construction. Ding! Sect construction card used successfully. Sect facilities are manifesting. The system's voice rang out. The sect construction card vanished. Chen Xuan immediately pretended to wave his hand. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the earth trembled violently. Countless peaks rose from the ground, towering and majestic. Upon the peaks, various pavilions and grand halls materialized. In the blink of an eye, a brand new sect revealed its true form. Simultaneously with the emergence of the sect's facilities, the super spirit gathering array embedded in the card began to activate. Boundless spiritual energy converged from all directions, instantly amplifying the surrounding chi 1,000-fold. Sensing the increasingly dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth, Lin Fan's body began involuntarily absorbing it with great fervor. Even his injuries started to heal faintly. Is this the true face of the Misty Cloud Sect? Truly a reclusive grand sect. Its spiritual energy is countless times richer than the Divine Sword Sect. If I cultivate here for a day, it's equivalent to months outside. Lin Fan was astounded. Following behind Chen Xuan, his reverence for the sect soared. Ahead, Chen Xuan led the way while silently opening the lavish disciple recruiting gift pack. System, open the lavish disciple recruiting gift pack. Ding! Lavish disciple recruiting gift pack opened successfully. Congratulations, host, for obtaining Emperor Summoning Card X2. Guaranteed reward. Congratulations, host, for obtaining Sage Summoning Card X2. Guaranteed reward. Note, all summon powerhouses are unconditionally loyal to the host. Accumulating 10 cards of the same tier allows summoning a higher tier powerhouse. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the sect facility, 9 Immortal Veins. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the great achievement, Primordial Sword Body. Primordial Sword Body. Every cell contains supreme sword intent, granting ultimate mastery over the sword path, commanding all blades to submit. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the Immortal Scripture, Primordial Chaos Sundering Art. Primordial Chaos Sundering Art, a sword cultivation technique. Left by a sword immortal from the primordial era, it can reverse yin and yang, distort the cosmos, and pierce through the river of time to glimpse past and future, hence Chaos Sundering. With the rewards delivered, Chen Xuan, walking at the front, shuddered. His comprehension of sword intent instantly reached its peak. At the main peak's sovereign, the master and disciple appeared slowly. Gazing at the imposing bronze hall, Lin Fan's steps grew increasingly hesitant. Disciple, why are you so slow? Hurry up. Chen Xuan sensed something amiss and turned to urge him. Lin Fan trembled and asked cautiously, Master, why haven't we seen a single senior brother or elder along? At that moment, he even feared he might have stumbled into some dire peril, though the surrounding spiritual energy was abundant like a celestial realm. The vast sect was eerily silent, with only the two of them walking, a bizarre and unsettling sight. Our sect hasn't taken in any disciples since it went into seclusion. The former disciples have all advanced to elders. The elders of our sect are either in closed-door cultivation or wandering the world. Your master emerged from seclusion to recruit disciples widely and bring the Misty Cloud Sect back into the world. Chen Xuan explained without a hint of embarrassment. Flawless. He didn't even need to use the newly obtained summoning cards. Besides, those cards could be synthesized into stronger powerhouses. He planned to save them for that. So that's it. Does that mean I'm the senior disciple of this generation? Hearing the explanation, Lin Fan not only relaxed but felt a surge of joy. Then he quickened his pace to follow his master. He had feared had been tricked into some terrifying place, but it turned out the sect was simply in seclusion. No wonder the spiritual energy was so abundant. And he was incredibly lucky. Not only had he joined a reclusive sect, but he had also become the senior disciple of a sect. Just thinking about it was thrilling. For a moment Lin Fan was overjoyed. Seeing this, Chen Xuan smiled faintly and continued leading the way. Soon he guided him into the Sovereign Hall. The Sovereign Hall. As the name implied, it was the hall where the sovereign resided. Entering the hall, Chen Xuan beckoned to him and said, "Disciple, come here. Your master will activate the primordial sword body for you." Primordial sword body. Do I have a special constitution? Lin Fan was startled and hurried forward asking, "Master, do you mean your disciple possesses the special constitution, the primordial sword body?" He knew of the primordial sword body, the most dominant sword constitution from the primordial era, naturally attuned to the sword path. "Yes, you have the primordial sword body." Chen Xuan nodded. Receiving his master's confirmation, Lin Fan stood stunned for a moment. No wonder I've always felt a natural affinity for swords and found sword techniques and abilities easy to master. So I possess the most dominant constitution of the primordial era, the primordial sword body. But I've heard that fully activating the primordial sword body requires primordial sword intent as a catalyst. Now with the great changes in the world, not to mention primordial sword intent, even a primordial corpse is impossible to find. Thinking this, Lin Fan felt a pang of disappointment and said helplessly, "Master, your disciple has heard that the primordial sword body needs primordial sword intent to activate. Otherwise it will forever only grant an affinity for swords without comprehending the true sword path." Heh, a mere primordial sword intent. Your master can conjure it with ease. Chen Xuan smiled faintly, then raised his hand and condensed a stream of sword intent, channeling it into Lin Fan's body. Instantly Lin Fan shuddered as every part of him was awakened and activated by the catalyst of primordial sword intent. The awakening of every inch of his skin deepened his comprehension of the sword path. This made him admire his master even more. But there was no time to dwell on it as he continued to grasp the insights of the sword path. After an unknown duration, boom, a thunderous explosion suddenly resounded within Lin Fan's body. Then his body emitted the sound of 10,000 swords resonating in unison. This signified that the primordial sword body had been fully activated. Lin Fan opened his eyes, reaching a whole new level of understanding of the sword path. He also awakened the constitution's innate ability, sword path. In that moment his hair billowed without wind, and he raised his arm, murmuring to the void, "Sword come." Boom. The sound instantly burst from the hall, spreading clang. Wherever the sound passed, whether in the wilds or beneath the soil, all was filled with the trembling of swords. Then countless broken and rusted swords emerged from the earth and surfaced from ponds, flying in unison toward the Misty Cloud Sect. Swish, swish, swish. Hundreds of long swords flew into the Sovereign Hall, encircling the master and disciple Chen Xuan and Lin Fan in a gesture of submission. This was the innate ability of the primordial sword body, or rather its natural dominance over swords. However, these swords were not only broken, but also low-grade weapons, useless to keep. Chen Xuan casually uttered a single word, "Begone." Clanged. The hundreds of swords shuddered, then turned and flew out of the hall, returning to their original places. Hiss. Could it be that Master also possesses the primordial sword body? Lin Fan gasped in astonishment at this sight. No wonder Master wielded the primordial sword intent. So Master shares this very constitution. In an instant, Lin Fan's veneration for Chen Xuan surged to an indescribable zenith. Master had saved his life and awakened his constitution, bestowing upon him a second chance at existence. Such grace and kindness could never be repaid in a lifetime. Lin Fan immediately knelt and voiced his heartfelt gratitude. Disciple pays homage to Master. No need for such formalities. You are this sect's current senior disciple. I hope you will cultivate diligently and uphold our sect's prestige. By the way, I have an immortal scripture here, perfectly suited for one of the sword path constitution. I shall bestow it upon you. With those words, a scripture materialized in Lin Fan's hand. He examined the scripture, and emblazoned upon it were the two characters immortal scripture. The primordial chaos heaven art, when cultivated to its pinnacle, one can reverse the yin and yang, traverse the river of time with the sword, and prove one's Tao through the blade. Boom. Lin Fan's heart quaked, and he began to doubt whether he had already been slain by the Xinjiang sect. Perhaps everything happening now was merely a fantasy before heavens. An immortal scripture. How could this be? Even a holy land possessed none, and Master had casually handed it to him. Moreover, he had only just entered the sect. Such trust was overwhelming. Lin Fan's excitement rendered him speechless. He secretly pinched his thigh, and the sharp pain made him wince. Hiss. He drew a sharp breath, finally confirming that all this was real. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Master." Begin your cultivation. Chen Xuan smiled slightly. The entry level is the hardest. Since I have time now, I will guide you through it. Yes. Hearing that Master would personally instruct him, Lin Fan hastened to open the scripture and peruse it. Before long, he had finished reading the cultivation. Yet there were a few points he found puzzling, so he raised his head to seek Master's guidance. But the moment his head lifted, he caught sight of Master glancing to the side, furrowing his brow, and uttering 2 words coldly. How insolent! Master, what's wrong? Lin Fan was startled and asked with concern. Nothing. I simply reprimanded an arrogant fool. Chen Xuan slowly withdrew his gaze and spoke a bewildering sentence that left Lin Fan utterly confused. Were they not in the sect leader's hall? There was no one else here. How could he have reprimanded anyone? Lin Fan was perplexed, but he did not dwell on it. He began to ask about the parts he did not understand, awaiting Master's explanation. Half a quarter of an hour earlier. Xinjian sect leader's hall. Several elders were engaged in heated discussion below, while the sect leader on the main seat remained expressionless. Have you found out anything? Yushan, the Xinjian sect leader, glanced calmly at the elders below. One of the elders responsible for investigating the missing disciples, Elder Xing of the penal affairs, hurriedly cupped his fists and reported, Sect leader, the life tablets of 6 inner disciples have all shattered. After investigation, no traces were left at the death scene. Is there not even a single clue? What about residual spiritual energy? None at all. Yushan frowned, visibly dissatisfied. Earlier this morning, upon learning of a traitor within the sect, he had issued a kill order. The order was carried out by disciples only, without elders, intended as a trial for the disciples. But not long ago, the life tablets of 6 disciples had all shattered, and they were inner disciples. The simultaneous death of 6 inner disciples was no trivial matter, so he immediately tasked the elder of the penal hall with investigating. Yet after half a day, all he received was a report of no clues. Absolutely baffling. No trace of spiritual energy was left. It was as if they had vanished into thin air on the edge of a cliff. Elder Xing shook. Elder Xing, could Lin Fan have found an accomplice? Maybe his helper killed our disciples and rescued him. After all, Lin Fan's corpse has never been found. At that moment, Elder Wang Ben of the Skills Pavilion could not help but interject. This man was the father of Wang Chong and the elder of the Skills Pavilion. He cared not for the number of disciples dead. His only concern was when the culprit Lin Fan would be apprehended. After all, he had fathered a son late in life, and that son had nearly lost his male function after being beaten by Lin Fan. If the vengeance was not exacted, he would have no way to face his son, nor could he vent his fury. It should not be the case. Lin Fan has a clean background with no friends or family in the mortal world. No one would help him. Furthermore, to slay 6 of our core disciples simultaneously without leaving a trace is beyond the capability of a void flight realm cultivator. It must be a spirit concentration realm cultivator. Lin Fan is merely an ordinary inner disciple. He could never have a spirit concentration realm powerhouse assisting him. I suspect other forces are targeting. Elder Xing analyzed gravely, then cupped his fists to Yushan, sect leader. Given that our sect abounds with prodigies and a new recruitment assembly is imminent, it is inevitable that some rival powers harbor hostility. I request the use of the divine weapon, the Void Mirror, to investigate the cause. If another force truly intends to target us and shake our position as an overlord-level sect, we must take precautions in advance. The Void Mirror is but a broken divine weapon. Each use diminishes its lifespan. Are you certain that the Xinjian sect is being targeted? Yushan was reluctant. Weapons are classified into spiritual artifacts, divine weapons, and emperor weapons. Divine weapons are extremely rare. Even their overlord-level sect possessed only a single damaged divine weapon. It was precisely this divine weapon that had allowed them to establish themselves in Huangzhou and become an overlord-level force. However, each use of the Void Mirror reduced its lifespan until it completely shattered. Consuming the lifespan of a divine weapon to investigate the deaths of disciples was indeed overkill. Sect leader. If the disciples were mistakenly killed, it might be tolerable, but if another force is secretly targeting us, early detection would allow early defense. As the old saying goes, better safe than sorry. There are many sects in Huangzhou that wish to replace the Xinjian sect. Seeing Yushan's reluctance, Elder Xing continued to weigh the pros and cons. The other elders also voiced their agreement. Right, I support Elder Xing's proposal. I support it as well. Agreed. Only a divine weapon can uncover the truth. The elders seconded one after. Yushan recognized the gravity of the situation and promptly acquiesced. Very well then, let us employ the divine weapon. With a wave of his hand, he summoned a cracked mirror. The mirror hovered in the air facing the shattered life tablets. Yushan raised his hand and poured spiritual energy into the void mirror. Instantly the scene within the mirror spun wildly, seeking the last vestiges of spiritual energy left on the tablets. Before long, the scene within the mirror froze on a cliff's edge. Seeing that it was indeed the suspected location, sect leader Yushan intensified the spiritual energy infusion and continued searching. In an instant, the chaos within the void mirror resumed. But this time, before the scene could stabilize, a pair of profound eyes suddenly appeared in the mirror. It seemed as if those eyes could see them through the void mirror. Everyone in the hall was startled. Sect leader Yushan was so frightened that he immediately cut off the spiritual energy flow. But at that moment the voice belonging to those eyes resounded from within the void mirror. How insolent! Boom, boom. The voice pierced through the void mirror and sent the Xinjiang sect leader flying. Uffed. Yushan staggered backwards, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Then the scene within the void mirror vanished, and the divine weapon turned to ashes on the spot. So powerful. So powerful. Yushan had no time to mourn the void mirror, his eyes widened, pupils filled with terror. Sect leader, are you alright? Quick, bring the healing pill. The other elders were greatly alarmed and crowded around. Their sect leader was a mid-stage spirit concentration realm cultivator of extraordinary strength. For him to be injured through the void mirror was truly beyond comprehension. Supported by the crowd, Yushan hastily consumed a healing pill and gradually recovered. He looked warily at the place where the void mirror had turned to ashes. Only after confirming that those eyes had vanished did he finally breathe a sigh of relief. Sect leader, what exactly happened? Why is there a voice coming from the void mirror? Isn't it supposed to be incapable of replicating sound? And those eyes, what are they? Could they be the murderer? The elders inquired with concern. That scene just now had completely shattered their understanding. Chill. Watch your tongue. Yushan frowned and hastily warned the elders. Then in a cautious tone he said, those eyes can traverse the void and see us through the mirror. We were fully exposed to his gaze just now, and I can sense that this was merely a warning. If not, we would all have been annihilated through that very mirror. What? Hiss. That terrifying. Heavens. So fearsome. Able to cross space and see us. What level of cultivation must that be? Could it be a Heavenly King realm expert? A Heavenly King shouldn't be capable of this. At the very least, it's the Imperial Extremity realm, or even a half-saint. What? A half-saint? Instantly, all the elders were startled by the term half-saint. After all, a half-saint was a being only found in sacred lands. Have we offended a sacred land? For a moment a chill ran down their spines. I don't know, but I can feel those eyes can pierce through everything. Regardless of whether it's an Imperial or a half-saint, there's no need to investigate the disciple's death. If we offend those eyes, our divine sword sect will surely be Yushan replied with a trembling heart. He didn't know the other's strength, but he knew those eyes were something the divine sword sect absolutely could not afford to provoke. Very well. A powerhouse like that was likely offended by our disciple and was casually eliminated. He didn't kill the sect leader, so he probably won't hold a grudge again. This matter is to be kept confidential, not to be leaked. Dismissed. What about the kill order on Lin Fan? The elder of the martial arts pavilion, still persistent, cautiously looked at the sect leader. The sect leader hesitated for a moment, then said, Lin Fan probably isn't connected to those eyes. Cancel the kill order for now, switch to a covert capture. Remember, capture him alive and don't offend anyone in the process. Also, if it's truly impossible to catch him, then let it go. The misty cloud, under Chen Xuan's guidance, Lin Fan had already stepped onto the path. The reason for his swift comprehension was quite simple. First, his primordial sword physique granted him a natural affinity for the way of the sword. Second, the immortal scripture was deduced by a sword immortal, making it more suitable for those with a sword physique to cultivate. Third, this realm was abundant with spiritual energy ideal for cultivation. With these combined advantages, his learning speed was exceptionally fast. Disciple, there are many rooms outside the main hall. You may choose one to stay in. Exiting the sect leader's main hall, Chen Xuan pointed to the adjacent buildings. Yes. Lin Fan nodded, then picked a room, intending to report to his men. But as he turned around, Chen Xuan had already soared into the sky. At the same time, 9 translucent dragons appeared in Chen Xuan's hands, and with his waves surged towards the ground. Are these spirit veins? No, this aura is even stronger than spirit veins. Could they be divine veins? Or even immortal veins? Master can actually place immortal veins with his bare hands. Witnessing this, Lin Fan's heart trembled. Spirit veins were formless entities formed by the convergence of heaven and earth's spiritual energy, usually born from nature itself. As for immortal veins, they were beyond description. Most cultivators had never even seen divine veins, let alone immortal ones. Yet his master could place immortal veins with his bare hands. Such a method was truly terrifying. For a moment, Lin Fan stood transfixed, watching his master arrange the immortal veins. Soon, as the first immortal vein merged into the mountains and rivers, the surrounding spiritual energy surged, and the heavenly barrier of this realm began to 1,500 times the spiritual energy. It truly is an immortal vein. With the first vein laid down, Lin Fan immediately sensed the multiplier of spiritual energy, utterly astounded. Boom. The second immortal vein also burrowed into the earth. The surrounding spiritual energy continued to skyrocket, hissed 2,000 times, and the heavenly barrier is even thinner. Lin Fan's eyes widened again, and this was only after placing 2 immortal veins. If all 9 were laid down, to what extent would the spiritual energy rise? Under Lin Fan's incredulous gaze, one immortal vein after another with Chen Xuan's gestures burrowed into the mountains and rivers. Boom boom, soon all 9 immortal veins had merged with the land. The spiritual energy on the Misty Cloud Sect's main peak instantly surged to 5,000 times that of the outside world. Of course that was the main peak. But the other peaks outside the main peak now also had over 4,000 times the spiritual energy. Even the remote corners beneath the various peaks boasted a concentration of 3,000 times. However, compared to the heavenly barrier, this spiritual energy was nothing. For now, the heavenly barrier within the Misty Cloud Sect had become extremely thin. The various Tao rhythms and rules of heaven and earth could be sensed without much effort. In some places, the Tao rhythms even overflowed through the heavenly barrier, visible to the naked eye. This was the true terror. What is the greatest fear in cultivation? Is it seclusion or battle? Neither. The greatest fear is the inability to comprehend. Without comprehension, no amount of hard cultivation can advance one's cultivation. Especially in the later stages, breakthroughs all depended on various insights. Now, with the rules of the Misty Cloud Sect manifesting and the Tao rhythms flowing, cultivating here meant there were virtually no insurmountable bottlenecks. As long as one was willing to work hard, a breakthrough was only a matter of time. It was no exaggeration to say that if you threw a dog into the Misty Cloud Sect, it would likely become a great demon before long. Our sect is truly domineering. I must cultivate diligently to live up to my master's expectations and the sect's environment. With all, Lin Fan entered his room and began to immerse himself in bitter cultivation. On the other side, after arranging the immortal veins, Chen Xuan smiled with satisfaction. The rewards from the system were indeed not lacking. Now that the sect had been transformed, recruiting disciples should hopefully be easier. As for the summoning cards, Chen Xuan decided not to use them for now. First, he was already at the Great Emperor realm. Summoning 1 or 2 more Great Emperors wouldn't make much difference. It was better to save them to synthesize an immortal. As for the saint summoning cards, they were even more useless. If one could synthesize a Great Emperor, who would want a saint? After all, the system had said cards could be synth. However, Great Emperors and saints could not be synthesized a second time. This meant that saint summoning cards could only be used to synthesize a Great Emperor, and once synthesized, that card couldn't be combined further and could only be summoned for use. But Great Emperor summoning cards could be synthesized into an immortal. Therefore, the method to maximize the value of summoning cards was to synthesize an immortal from a Great Emperor and a Great Emperor from a saint. After all, in this world, an immortal hadn't been seen for tens of thousands of years. If the sect had an immortal, it would be absolutely incredible. With an immortal, having a group of Great Emperors as elders wouldn't be bad either. As for the rewards for lower-level disciples, they could all be synthesized into saints to serve as outer sect elders. After all, no elder of the Misty Cloud Sect should be below the saint realm. Otherwise, it wouldn't uphold the prestige of the strongest sect. By then, as the sect leader, with a wave of his hand, countless saints, Great Emperors, and immortals would heed his command. How magnificent! At this thought, Chen Xuan grinned. Perhaps sensing his thoughts, the system suddenly popped up again and reminded him. Ding! Detected that in 3 days the Divine Sword City will host a disciple recruitment assembly. At that time, a genius with 10-star potential will appear. Host, please be sure to go and recruit. A recruitment assembly. Chen Xuan was taken aback and asked doubtfully, System, are you sure? The Divine Sword Sect is recruiting, and you want me to snatch? Ding! No, host. Although it's the Divine Sword Sect's recruitment, host doesn't need to go to their sect. Just go to Divine Sword City, which is under their jurisdiction. At that time, many small sects and various factions will be in Divine Sword City, picking up the disciples eliminated by the major sects. So host can go under the guise of picking up discarded talents. Perfectly justified. Discarded disciples. Chen Xuan. Damn, I, the future master of the strongest sect, a Great Emperor-level sect leader, have to go scavenge in front of a mere hegemon-level power. Chen Xuan cursed inwardly. But when he thought of a 10-star talent disciple, his frustration instantly dissipated. After all, the feeling of collecting cards was true. Alright, got it. They'll be there. With that, Chen Xuan flickered and entered the sect leader's main hall. 3 days later, at the main peak of the Misty Sect, Lin Fan slowly opened his eyes, exhaling a murky breath. Huff. The peak of the spiritual. In just 3 days, he had crossed 5 minor realms. This environment was truly a celestial paradise. And the immortal grade technique bestowed by his master was indeed formidable. After cultivation, his combat prowess had surged by at least dozens of times. Master said he would take me to recruit a new disciple. I should go ask when we set up. Lin Fan rose and left his room, arriving at the great hall. With cupped hands, he said, Master, this disciple has completed his cultivation and has now reached the peak of the spiritual sea realm. When shall we depart? Having spoken, he eagerly awaited his master's praise. After all, breaking through 5 minor realms in 3 days, even the geniuses of the Holy Lands would hardly find it so effortless. The peak of the spiritual sea. Not bad. But compared to your master, you're still a tad slower. When I went from the first to the 9th layer of the spiritual sea, it took only a single breath. Chen Xuan smiled faintly, offering a compliment. Yet the praise also included himself, breaking through 9 minor realms in a single breath. Lin Fan was stunned, utterly incredulous. Humph, bragging. Even the ancient emperors could not achieve such a feat. No matter how powerful his master was, it was impossible. Though he doubted it, Lin Fan still flattered, "This disciple is dull and dares not compare with master. Good that you know. Let's go." Chen Xuan nodded with satisfaction, rose, and flew outward. Lin Fan quickly followed. Thus the master and disciple, one behind the other, flew toward Divine Sword City. Since Lin Fan had once been a disciple of Divine Sword Sect, to avoid recognition and trouble for his master, he specially wore a bronze eye patch to conceal his Divine Sword City, a city under the sway of the Divine Sword Sect. Due to its proximity to the sect, it had become a resting place for those seeking to become disciples. At this moment outside Divine Sword City, the crowd was bustling, nearly bursting the city's capacity. Such was the allure of a hegemon-level sect. Those seeking apprenticeship came in an endless stream, all hoping to enter Divine Sword Sect and rise to prominence. Of course, the sects that came to pick up leftovers also arrived in droves as high-talent disciples gathered here. Picking up leftovers here yielded more geniuses than recruiting at their own doors. "Stop! What are you here for?" At the city gate, as Chen Xuan and Lin Fan were about to enter, 2 gate-guarding disciples blocked their way. Chen Xuan halted and said calmly, "We are here to recruit disciples." "Recruiting disciples?" The gate disciple, expressionless, as if accustomed to this, rubbed his fingers together. Chen Xuan understood immediately. No wonder Divine Sword Sect allowed others to pick up leftovers. They could make money too. He asked indifferently, "How much?" 300 spirit stones. Chen Xuan. "So cheap. Stop dawdling, pay up. Many are waiting to enter the city." The gate disciple urged, seeing the other's confidence. "Just 300 spirit stones." Chen Xuan nodded, turned to Lin Fan, and said, "Disciple, pay up." Lin Fan. Though startled by his master's reminder, Lin Fan was not displeased. To be of service to his master was a blessing cultivated over lifetimes. Not just 300 spirit stones. Even if his life were demanded, he would. So he cheerfully took out 300 spirit stones and tossed them over. When recruiting inside the city, remember not to use coercion. Everything must be voluntary. If you dare to bully or force anyone, the consequences will be yours to bear. Before they left, the gate disciple still added a warning. The master and disciple ignored him and entered Divine Sword City. Entering Divine Sword City, the bustling streets immediately came into view. Pedestrians, hawkers, and bargaining voices filled the air. Even Chen Xuan was captivated by the scene. After all, he had hidden in the mountains for 10 years and had not seen so many people for a long time. On the streets, almost everyone was handsome or beautiful. Of course, there were also some middle-aged people and elders. They wove through the crowd, looking around like thieves, occasionally intercepting youths and maidens in the alleys along the street. "Don't worry, it's not robbery, it's poaching. Young man, I see you have a full forehead and a square chin, elegant and extraordinary with an unmatched temperament. You are destined for greatness. Would you like to join my Moonwheel sect?" Immediate inner disciple status upon entry. Move aside, move aside. Never heard of Moonwheel sect. This young master is going to join Divine Sword Sect as an outer disciple. Young lady, I observed the stars last night and saw the purple star moving east. After some calculation, I discovered a monstrous genius has emerged. Thus I searched and found you here. Would you like to join my carefree sect? I would be willing to take you as a personal disciple. Move aside. I'm going to be an outer disciple of the Divine Sword Sect. Never heard of your carefree sect. One after another, sneaky old men lured young men and maidens in the alleys, their words almost identical. Seeing this, Chen Xuan was stunned, because when he had recruited Lin Fan, he had said the same thing. He turned to look at Lin Fan. Lin Fan was completely composed. He had been a disciple of Divine Sword Sect and had experienced many such scenes, so he felt no emotional fluctuation. At this moment, Chen Xuan felt a bit embarrassed. He quietly took the lead and continued walking inward. "Master, should we find a place to stay first or go directly to find the person you're looking for?" On the way, Lin Fan asked respectfully. Chen Xuan said seriously, "Let's find the person directly. Once we recruit the disciple, we'll go back." Having said that, Chen Xuan looked toward the direction indicated by the system's positioning. Soon he spotted a young girl wearing a form-fitting gauze dress. Though the streets were filled with many handsome men and beautiful women, the appearance of that girl still caused quite a stir. She was tall and graceful, and wherever she went, all the beauties were overshadowed by her aura. In an instant, countless people noticed the girl's arrival and cast admiring glances. Yi Qingqing. Name: Yi Qingqing, reborn as a quasi-emperor. Realm 6th layer of the spiritual sea. Physique: reincarnation, immortal body. Spirit: does not enter reincarnation, consciousness never extinguished. Each death brings rebirth with blood, essence, and memories. Potential 10 stars. Experience born 10,000 years later as a reincarnation body, 9 cycles of reincarnation, yet failed to become an emperor through the righteous path. This is the 10th cycle reborn 10,000 years ago, awakening past life memories half a month ago. The detailed information appeared before Chen Xuan's eyes. He smiled faintly and murmured, a little girl from 10,000 years in the future. Disciple, you have a junior sister now. With that he strode directly toward the young girl. Junior sister. Lin Fan was startled and instinctively followed his master. But when they were still some distance from Yi Qingqing, a young man in Divine Sword Sect disciple attire stepped in front of the girl ahead of Chen Xuan. Seeing the young man's face, Lin Fan halted and quickly warned, Master, he is Wang Chong, the son of the Technique Hall elder. It was because of him that this disciple was hunted. Oh, what a coincidence. Then later you can kill him to vent your anger. He'll handle the consequences. Chen Xuan said nonchalantly. But these domineering words startled Lin Fan, who worried, but won't that cause trouble for Master? This is a vassal city of the Divine Sword Sect with many sect disciples, and very close to the sect itself. Once trouble occurs, the sect will receive news, no matter. Remember, our Misty Sect fears no power. Even if an emperor comes, you need not be afraid. The sect will back you up. Boom. These words struck Lin Fan, filling him with fighting spirit. The Misty Sect fears no power. Even an emperor coming is nothing to fear. The sect will back him up. Did that mean the sect harbored an unparalleled expert? Thinking of this, Lin Fan grew utterly excited. He nodded firmly. Good. I will kill him to avenge myself. Good. Don't approach yet. Let's see what he's up to with your junior sister. Wang Chong's eyes flickered with an excited, sinister gleam as he leered at Yi Qingqing. A masterpiece. A true masterpiece. That figure, that face, that skin, that waist. Tisk, she must be an intoxicating delight. For a moment Wang Chong's gaze was overflowing with lust. It had been ages since he had encountered such a rare beauty. Now that he had finally stumbled upon one, not claiming her would be an absolute disgrace to his title as the playboy of the Xinjiang sect. So Wang Chong grinned and blocked Yi Qingqing's path, putting on a concerned expression. Miss, you must be here for the Xinjiang sect's disciple recruitment assembly, right? The entrance assessment has already started today. Why haven't you gone yet? Are you lost? How about I take you to the Xinjiang sect for the test? No thank you. Yi Qingqing frowned and shook her head, refusing outright. But the young man was utterly nonchalant, still leering. Miss, I am Wang Chong, an inner disciple of the Xinjiang sect. My father is the elder of the Technique Repository. I can recommend you for entry, save you a lot of trouble. And if you perform well as an outer disciple, I can easily pull some strings to get you into the inner sect. How about it? Care to get to know me? He finished, brimming with anticipation, as if everything was a foregone conclusion. But expectations often defy reality. Yi Qingqing's reaction was tepid. She simply shook her head and refused again. The reason was simple. Lin Fan was no longer in the Xinjiang sect, so why would she join? Moreover, with her talent, she could enter the inner sect directly, without any recommendation. Sorry, I don't wish to join any sect right now, Yi Qingqing said calmly, turning to leave. But this attitude instantly exhausted Wang Chong's patience. His face darkened, and he threatened coldly. If you don't want to join the Xinjiang sect, then why are you here? What do you take my sect for? A place you can come and go as, why am I here? Hearing those words, Yi Qingqing gave a bitter smile. She didn't want to be here either, but she had been forced to transmigrate. Though she was an orphan without family, her cultivation journey was remarkably smooth, as if she were the destined heroine of a story. But then she met a woman named Lung, she who completely shattered her Though she was an orphan without family, her cultivation journey was remarkably smooth, as if she were the destined heroine of a story. But then she met a woman named Lung, she who completely shattered her perception of her own identity. She realized she was not the protagonist at all, but a supporting character. Whenever Lung she appeared, she would kill Yi Qingqing over some matter, and Yi Qingqing could never escape, perishing body and soul. 9 reincarnations, 9 deaths. It nearly drove her mad. In her first life, during her growth, she had dealt with a few obstacles due to some conflicts. Later, a young girl named Lung, she having cultivated to a certain level, found her, and without any explanation slapped her into ashes, claiming it was revenge. Only then did Yi Qingqing understand that among the obstacles she had removed were Lung Zai's family members. After being reduced to ashes, she was reborn at her starting point, beginning her second life. This time she took extra care not to offend the gifted Lung Zai's family. Even when she encountered them, she would smile and build relationships. She feared that Lung she stronger than her would come to kill her. But fate always played tricks. The heavens arranged a man to appear by her side, madly in love with. Though she felt nothing for that man, who knew that Lung she would meet her again, try to seize the man, and kill her once more. Because that man was Lung Zai's boyfriend. Learning this, Yi Qingqing gritted her teeth in anger. So in her third life, she neither offended the girl, nor got involved with the man. But then, she bumped into both of them in a remote corner. The consequence? She was killed again. In the subsequent reincarnations, she could never escape the fate of being slain by that girl. Even when she tried to strike first with foreknowledge, that girl always managed to escape, then return after cultivating to a higher level to kill her, nearly driving her to mental collapse. By the 9th life, she abandoned all methods of contending with that girl, and instead devoted herself to relentless cultivation, staying indoors as much as possible and avoiding contact with others. She finally reached the quasi-emperor realm at record speed, then emerged into the world confidently. According to the timeline, that girl was far from being her match, then nowhere near the quasi-emperor level. So she set out with full confidence. Thus, as she expected, the girl appeared again, her realm far inferior, no match for her. Just when Yi Qingsheng thought she could finally kill her opponent, another strange man emerged, and with a single slap, turned her, a quasi-emperor, into ashes. Just before death, she learned that the new man was the girl's senior brother, a great emperor, far more powerful than her. And both of them had a master named Lin Fan. Learning this, Yi Qingsheng was stupefied. That girl was already absurdly formidable, and then a senior brother appeared. He was a great emperor. He killed her with a slap, and above them both was yet another man. Heavens! Just how powerful was this Lin Fan that even his disciple could be a great emperor? Opposing them truly led to no good end. Even if she could keep reincarnating, she would likely never escape being killed. Who knew what realm Lin Fan had reached? So after realizing this, Yi Qingsheng secretly decided that in her next life, she would also seek out Lin Fan to become his disciple and cling to his coattails. But she never expected that in her 10th life, she would transmigrate 10,000 years into the past, becoming the eldest daughter of the Yi family, a clan second only to the hegemon-level powers. It was only half a month ago that she awakened the memories of her previous 9 lives. This completely shattered all her plans, especially thinking about the possibility of meeting that girl who had always dominated her. 10,000 years later, she couldn't help but feel anxious again. However, after awakening her memories, she accidentally learned that the Shenzhen sect was holding its triennial recruitment assembly. Her clan leader father kept praising the sect's might, which reminded her of fragments of information from her past life. Lin Fan, it seemed, had originated from the Shenzhen sect. Later, for some unknown reason, he left the sect and soared to greatness. Could it be that I've transmigrated to Lin Fan's era? Her heart trembled. She frantically investigated Lin Fan's background, and soon learned that he was indeed a disciple of the Shenzhen sect, an inner disciple at that, but not highly valued by the sect. Upon hearing this, she didn't hesitate. She went along with her father's arrangement, and set off alone to attend the Shenzhen sect's disciple recruitment assembly. She confidently assured her father that she had absolute confidence in becoming an inner disciple directly. Her old father was so excited that he took out countless treasures to boost her strength. But, as the saying goes, fate loves to jest. This morning, just as she was preparing to take the test with confidence, she learned that Lin Fan had been expelled. The reason was unknown. His whereabouts were unknown. Her plan to cling to a powerful patron had failed again. As for joining the Shenzhen sect, she had her mind was entirely occupied with where to find Lin Fan. So she had no good attitude toward this Shenzhen sect disciple before her. After all, with her strength, even if she joined the sect, her status would definitely be higher than his. With a little maneuvering, she could become the sect master's personal. But considering that Lin Fan had been expelled from the Shenzhen sect, joining the sect might put her on a path opposing him. She immediately abandoned the idea of joining. However, in this life, she had a family and a home, unlike her previous solitary existence. Offending a hegemon-level power like the Shenzhen sect would be difficult for her clan. So she softened her tone and said, "Sorry, I really don't want to join the Shenzhen sect right now. Today you will join whether you want to or not. Otherwise you won't leave." Wang Chong sneered and waved his hand toward the distance. Instantly, several more Shenzhen sect disciples appeared surrounding Yi Qingsheng. "Stop!" Just as Wang Chong was about to make his move, a cold shout suddenly rang out. Then a tall man and a short man slowly walked toward them. Man's name is the Divine Sword Sect forcing someone into discipleship. The newcomers were Chen Xuan and Lin Fan. It was Lin Fan who spoke. "Stop!" Just as Wang Chong was about to make his move, a cold shout suddenly rang out. Then a tall man and a short man slowly walked toward them. Man's name: Lin Fan. "You can still recognize me. In the entire sect, you're the only one without any backing who dares to oppose me. Even if you turn to ashes, I still know you." Wang Chong sneered. "Fine, you actually dare to show up in Divine Sword City. Last time you ambushed and wounded me. This time you want to escape. Brothers, attack together. Capture him." At the command, the other Divine Sword Sect disciples dispersed surrounding Lin Fan and Chen Xuan. On the other side, after hearing their conversation, Yi Qingsheng's body trembled and her heart shook with shock. She instinctively looked toward Lin Fan. Lin Fan. Could he be Lung Zai's master, the overwhelmingly powerful Lin Fan, from 10,000 years later? For a moment, Yi Qingsheng was stunned. She never expected that seeking far and wide would yield the prize right before her eyes. She had to latch onto his coattails, absolutely had to. When Lin Fan fought, she would act to show her allegiance and win his trust. With this thought, Yi Qingqing grew vigilant, ready to strike at any moment to rescue him. Although she was only at the 6th level of the spiritual sea realm, her 9 reincarnations had accumulated many tricks. Even if an elder arrived, she was confident she could escape with Lin Fan in time. But just then, the surrounding Divine Sword Sect disciples suddenly couldn't move. Their legs seemed rooted to the ground, impossible to pull free. What's happening? I can't move. Me too. My legs feel stuck to the ground. I can't move either. Panic spread among the crowd. But Lin Fan smiled. He knew his master had intervened, giving him a chance for revenge. So he turned sharply to Wang Chong and said coldly, "Wang Chong, prepare to die." With that, he raised his hand, forming a palm of spiritual energy, and struck toward Wang Chong. Wang Chong's heart pounded. But as a cultivator at the 5th level of the spiritual sea realm, he believed himself a level above Lin Fan. Though somewhat weakened, his higher realm was no lie. Even without help, he was unafraid. Heh. Lin Fan, in a direct fight, you're no match for me. Today I'll show you the power of the 5th level of the spiritual sea realm, Fierce Tiger Fist. He released the aura of the 5th level, conjured a pair of fists with a wave of his hand, and drove them straight at Lin Fan's massive palm. Boom. In an instant, the two techniques collided. But Wang Chong's Fierce Tiger Fist disintegrated into dust upon contact with Lin Fan's palm. Then the palm pressed down on Wang Chong's head with the force of a crushing mountain. Hiss! Wang Chong gasped, utterly shocked. Impossible. Impossible. You're only at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm. How could you shatter my Fierce Tiger Fist? He hurriedly summoned all his spiritual energy to form a defense. But before the spiritual energy defense could take shape, that giant hand landed on his head and pressed down violently. Boom. A dull thud. The bluestone floor was instantly crushed into a deep pit. Wang Chong vanished without a trace. Everyone around was stunned and peered into the pit. All they saw was a blur of bloody flesh. Heh. Who said I was at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm? I'm now at the 9th level. Lin Fan murmured to himself. With his great revenge fulfilled, the obsession and hatred in his heart vanished completely. He then turned to Chen Xuan, cupped his fists, and said, "Master, your disciple's revenge is complete." Boom. At these words, the crowd finally snapped out of their daze. Heavens, the inner disciple of the Divine Sword Sect has been reduced to pulp. Murder. Murder. Oh. A Divine Sword Sect disciple has been killed. Run for your lives. The young men and women around screamed and fled in all directions. This was a Divine Sword Sect disciple, and on their own turf. Killing someone here, wasn't that like an old man asking for death? Those who dared to stay and watch were either from powerful backgrounds or considered themselves capable. As the crowd dispersed, the other Divine Sword Sect disciples were, even though they had regained their mobility, they had lost the will to capture the killer. The 9th level of the spiritual sea realm. Heavens, had Lin Fan broken through 5 minor realms in 3 days? How was that possible? And that silent man beside him, was he his master? No wonder they couldn't move earlier, it must have been his doing. The disciples were terrified, not daring to utter threats. They retreated to signal the sect elders, then watched Lin Fan and Chen Xuan from a distance, afraid they might escape. But clearly they had underestimated Lin Fan and Chen Xuan. Flee. That was the way of the weak. Chen Xuan did not flee. Instead, he nodded approvingly and praised, "Good. Strike when it's time to strike. That aligns with the true spirit of our Misty Sect." He then walked slowly to Yi Qingqing and said with a smile, "Young lady, I see your extraordinary bone structure. You are destined for greatness. Would you be willing to become my disciple and join the Misty Sect? I am the 108th sect master of the Misty Sect. Our sect is powerful with a deep heritage, and I will surely train you to become an emperor." Chen Xuan's words left the bystanders utterly bewildered. Heavens, instead of fleeing, he dares to recruit disciples. Wow, such audacity. I've never seen such nerve. Misty Sect. Never heard of it. Have you? Me neither. Must be some obscure sect. But what nerve? Killing a Divine Sword Sect disciple and then recruiting on the spot. Has he a death wish? The crowd was astounded. Yi Qingqing was also shocked. Misty Sect. The 108th sect master. Lin Fan's master. Had she stumbled upon the master of the master? What incredible luck. Now was the time to pledge allegiance. Without a second thought, she knelt before Chen Xuan with a thud and exclaimed, "Disciple, Yi Qingqing pays respects to master." Then she knocked her head 3 times, each bang echoing against the bluestone floor. This scene left everyone gaping in disbelief. She did it. She actually pledged herself. Heavens, isn't that courting death? Alas, this girl. She's finished. Those who offend the Divine Sword Sect never fare well, yet she dared to become a disciple. TSK. A pity, such a pity. This girl has an extraordinary aura and likely excellent talent, but her life will be short. The sect masters and elders from minor sects sighed in lament. Chen Xuan paid them no mind, for his system reward had arrived. Ding. Congratulations, host, for recruiting a 10-star potential disciple. Your luxurious recruitment gift pack has been credited. Please check it. Excellent, excellent. Dear disciple, rise quickly. The ground is cold. After successfully accepting the disciple, Chen Xuan excitedly helped Yi Qingqing to her feet. Then smiling warmly, he pointed at Lin Fan and introduced, Qingqing, this is your senior brother Lin Fan. From now on you are my second disciple. Qingqing greets senior brother. Please take good care of me. Yi Qingqing quickly bowed to Lin Fan, her heart surging with indescribable excitement. What a turn of events. She had become Lin Fan's junior sister. No longer would she fear that Long Shi after 10,000 years. When the time came, and she stood before Long, she would that woman dare to lay a hand on her own sect aunt. And since Master had taught Lin Fan to be so formidable, surely his teaching of her would be no less effective. Hello, junior sister. Take care is too strong. We're all sect disciples, let's strive and improve together. Lin Fan also clasped his fists in salute. All right, you've met. Let's go. Seeing this, Chen Xuan smiled faintly and prepared to take the two back. But just then a furious roar suddenly resounded across Shenzhen City. How dare you? You killed a disciple of the Divine Sword Sect and still think you can leave. Surrender at once. Suddenly a gale swept down. Immediately after, two elders of the Divine Sword Sect descended from the sky and landed on the street. Where's my son? Suddenly a gale swept down. Immediately after, two elders of the Divine Sword Sect descended from the sky and landed on the street. Where's my son? Today was the first day of the disciple recruitment assembly. He had been ordered to patrol outside the sect with his cousin to maintain order. Suddenly he received a communication message from Shenzhen City. The message said that Lin Fan had appeared in Shenzhen City and had killed his son. Upon hearing this, Wang Ben nearly collapsed. He grabbed his cousin and flew over in a frantic rush. Tell me quickly, where is my son? He grabbed a random disciple of Shenzhen City and demanded anxiously. Elder Wang, junior brother Wang. He is. The seized disciple trembled violently, terrified to the extreme, and stammered, unable to form an answer. Speak now. Wang Ben was hysterical, his spittle spraying onto the disciple's face. That disciple only grew more frightened, momentarily forgetting how to speak. Fortunately, at that moment, another disciple provided the answer. Elder Wang, junior brother Wang, is in the pit. Whoosh. Wang Ben flickered and appeared at the edge of the pit. When he saw the mound of gore inside, he instantly broke down. My son. Wang Ben let out a long howl, his powerful aura, no longer restrained, bursting forth completely. Boom. A tremendous pressure erupted from his body, instantly crushing the breath out of all the young men and women around. SSS. Such intense pressure. I can't breathe. This. Half-step spirit concentration. The hegemonic powers are truly formidable. It's said that the inner elders of the Divine Sword Sect are at least at the late stage of the Imperial Sky Realm. And the true mountain guarding elders are all at spirit concentration realm. So this is the power of the late Imperial Sky Realm. Although I am also at Imperial Sky Realm, facing this pressure, I probably couldn't even withstand a single move. Truly, in the path of cultivation, the higher the realm, the greater the gap between each level. For a moment, everyone around was greatly alarmed and hurriedly resisted the pressure. Lin Fan and Yi Qingqing also changed color, feeling the oppressive weight. But just then Chen Xuan slightly raised his head, and the pressure on the two instantly vanished. It's Master. They both glanced at Chen Xuan, their hearts filled with a sense of security. Lin Fan, you dared to kill my son. Prepare to die. At that moment, Wang Ben suddenly struck, lunging at Lin Fan with blinding speed, leaving everyone dazzled and unable to react. This left Lin Fan utterly speechless. He had even put on an eye mask. How could everyone who came recognize him as Lin Fan? But this time Chen Xuan was no pushover either, daring to lay hands on his disciple right before him. That was like stirring up trouble with the god of Tai Sui, a death wish. Ant. Chen Xuan spat out two words expressionlessly. Boom. The word, ant, instantly transformed into a surge of pressure and hurtled toward Wang Ben. The moment the two words struck Wang Ben's body, a loud bang echoed as he exploded on the spot, turning into a rain of blood. He didn't even have time to groan. SSS. Everyone collectively gasped. X. Exploded. Heavens. This man appears to be the 108th generation sect master of the Piao sect. Is the Piao sect so powerful that just two words could blast apart an elder at the peak of Imperial Sky Realm? Could he be at Spirit Concentration Realm? The pressure contained in those two words is no weaker than a spirit concentration expert. Wang Ben was at peak Imperial Sky after all. Even the Divine Sword Sect's master at Spirit Concentration Realm couldn't blast apart a peak Imperial Sky elder with just words alone, could he? Terrifying, too terrifying. Can he be even stronger than the Divine Sword Sect master? In an instant, everyone cast wary glances at Chen Xuan, fearing that he might suddenly attack them. Even the two disciples beside Chen Xuan were shocked by his move. Especially Yi Qingqing, whose beautiful eyes widened, heart pounding with excitement and admiration. Master is so domineering. No wonder he could teach senior brother Lin Fan. I hope to inherit even a shred of Master's skill in the future. Lin Fan, Master is truly Master. When he does not strike, he remains still. When he strikes, it's a lethal blow. He can even instantly kill a peak Imperial Sky Elder. The two withdrew their gazes, exchanged a glance, then simultaneously clasped their fists, and praised, Master is mighty, the Piao sect is glorious. Alright, stop flattering me. Let's go back. Chen Xuan rolled his eyes, then waved his hand, and took Lin Fan, and Yi Qingqing lifting off on the spot. Throughout the entire process, not a single person dared to stop them. Even Wang Bin's cousin Wang Shuang was dumbfounded and dared not speak. Only after the perpetrator's figure had completely disappeared did he mutter curses to the people around. He won't get away. The sect master is hosting the recruitment assembly at the mountain gate. He'll report to him now, and he'll capture him back immediately. With that, he took out a communication talisman and reported, Sect Master, something huge has happened in Shenzhen City. The elder of the skill pavilion was blasted apart by Lin Fan's master with a single sentence. Requesting backup, requesting backup. Swoosh. A streak of white light flew from the talisman heading straight toward the Divine Sword Sect. He then waited on the spot, muttering to himself at the place where his cousin had turned to ashes, Cousin, don't blame me for not intervening. It's just that he was too strong. If I had struck, I would surely have been blasted to ashes too. Your son is dead, and you are dead too. Grandfather only has you and me as grandsons, and I have no descendants. We can't let grandfather's bloodline end, can we? A moment later, Yushan, the sect master of the Divine Sword Sect, arrived with several inner elders descending through the air. As he observed the scene, he listened to the on-site report. Piao sect. Never heard of this sect. And aside from that inner disciple, why has Elder Wang left no trace at all? Even if he was blasted apart, there should be residual qi. Yushan stared at the spot where Wang Bin died, utterly puzzled. Sect master, the place where Elder Wang vanished seems identical to those 6 disciples. The scene left no mark at all. Suddenly the reminder from the disciplined elder jolted Yushan awake. He shuddered and said incredulously, could it be those eyes within the void mirror? Most likely. At the mention of those eyes, the punishment elder's heart trembled. After all, the incident with the void mirror last time had filled them with dread. Quick, does anyone remember that person's face? Draw it for me. Yushan urgently questioned those present. I remember what he looked like. Soon a minor sect master leaped forward, exclaiming excitedly, I recall his appearance. Hurry, draw it for me. Yushan's voice was urgent. The man nodded, took out paper and brush, and in moments sketched the likenesses of Chen Xuan and his 2 disciples. 3 figures from one sect lay neatly on the paper. Sect leader, it's done. The man handed over the drawing. Yushan snatched it eagerly and spread it open. In an instant, those familiar eyes appeared on the paper. Yushan and the punishment elder's hearts jolted simultaneously. It truly was those eyes. Instantly, they reflexively tossed the drawing away, leaped back in unison, and let out terrified cries. Oh, it was him. Heavens, he had offended him once again. Damn it. Yet the other party merely blinked, showing no sign of, but Yushan had no time for them. His heart pounded wildly, and his scalp tingled with fear. It was him. It was him. It was him. Heavens, he had offended him once again. Damn it. Yet the other party merely blinked, showing no sign of anger. With that thought, Yushan, still shaken, picked up the drawing from the ground and ordered the crowd, inner disciple Wang Chong and inner elder Wang Bin, abusing their status as elders of the Divine Sword Sect, committed heinous acts, harmed fellow disciple Lin Fan, and deserved death. During the investigation of Wang Bin and Wang Chong, they also offended a strong cultivator from another sect for no reason, bringing trouble to the Divine Sword Sect. Their deaths are well deserved. By my command, this matter ends here. No one is to continue investigating. Furthermore, restore Lin Fan's reputation within the sect and clear his name. Now disperse. Yushan waved his hand and left Divine Sword City first. He abandoned the disciple recruitment assembly and retreated into the sect leader's hall, hiding in lingering fear. A pair of eyes had frightened him twice. Anyone would be driven to madness. Fortunately, the other party did not pursue the matter further, or he would not know what to do. Within Divine Sword City, Yushan's words spread quickly. The name, Piao sect, gradually began to circulate. But that is a story for another time. On the other side, Chen Xuan sensed someone drawing his portrait and blinked to give them a scare. Since they only sought his likeness without malice, he refrained from lethal action. Chen Xuan sensed someone drawing his portrait and blinked to give them a scare. Since they only sought his likeness without malice, Yi Qingqing was slightly puzzled, not understanding her senior brother's meaning. After all, what was there to prepare for entering a sect? Surely, it wouldn't require passing. Without overthinking, Yi Qingqing nodded and said, yes, thank you for the reminder, senior brother. With that, she followed her master and senior brother as they stepped into the Piao. Instantly, a vast surge of spiritual energy rushed toward them. Yi Qingqing's entire body trembled, utterly astonished by the overwhelming richness. Even she, who had once trodden the quasi-emperor realm, had never witnessed such a place brimming with spiritual energy. For a moment her soul felt elevated as if ascending to the heavens. She involuntarily spread her arms to embrace the all-encompassing spiritual energy. This spiritual energy is incredibly dense, she murmured. Hee, that's nothing, junior sister. Try sensing it more deeply, Lin Fan said with a grin, prompting her again. Yi Qingqing paused and focused her mind. In no time her eyes widened once more. The barrier between heaven and earth is so thin, as if it could be pierced with a single touch. Is this the sect's environment? Cultivating and comprehending here must be hundreds or thousands of times faster than outside. Yi Qingqing's heart shook violently, her pupils dilating. Was this the environment where Lung Shi of her past life had cultivated? No wonder she couldn't win again. Seeing her lost in thought, Lin Fan smiled warmly and said, junior sister, entering the Piao sect is our fortune. From now on, cultivate diligently, and yes, thank you for your guidance, senior brother, Yi Qingqing replied excitedly. Then she turned her gaze toward Chen Xuan, who was walking ahead. Chen Xuan's steps were steady and calm, showing no sign of introducing the sect or any inclination to speak. This made Yi Qingqing pout involuntarily. She still had so many questions to ask. Why was the sect so quiet? Why hadn't they seen any fellow disciples along the way? But since the master showed no intention of speaking, she, as a disciple, dared not ask. Instead, she looked to Lin Fan beside her. Though Lin Fan couldn't ponder deeply as the senior brother, he felt responsible for introducing the sect. Thus he earnestly repeated to Yi Qingqing everything Chen Xuan had told him, leaving her utterly astounded. Especially upon learning that the Piao sect was a reclusive sect where all disciples had advanced to the elder level. This revelation shook her to the core. All disciples had reached the elder level. What profound strength that implied. And as this was the first time they were recruiting disciples, she was the master's second personal disciple, a title of immense prestige. Filled with excitement, Yi Qingqing looked toward her master. Chen Xuan remained expressionless, leading the way. Of course it wasn't that he was putting on a facade. All disciples had reached the elder level. What profound strength that implied. And as this was the first time they were recruiting disciples, she was the master's. Congratulations, host, you have received Sage Summon Cards X2. Congratulations, host, you have received the sect facility. Ultimate Illusion Tower. Ultimate Illusion Tower, 9 floors with thousands of rooms in total. Each floor can simulate realms and dangers of varying levels, allowing cultivators to enter with their spirit for training. Time inside the illusion flows 10 times faster than the outside world. 10 days in the illusion equals 1 day outside. Note, cultivators enter with their spirit experiencing 100% realistic sensation. Injuries or death in the illusion feel utterly real, but the body remains unharmed. Congratulations, host, you have received the ultimate skill. 10,000 swords return to 1. Congratulations, host, you have received the immortal scripture. Reincarnation Immortal Art. Reincarnation Immortal Art, created by the Reincarnation Immortal. When mastered, one never enters reincarnation and becomes immortal and indestructible. Congratulations, host, you have received 10 tons of Enlightenment Tea. Enlightenment Tea contains Tao essence and heavenly laws, aiding cultivators in enlightenment. Ding. The Ultimate Illusion Tower has manifested within the sect. As the system's voice faded, all rewards were credited instantly. Gazing at the treasures in his system space, Chen Xuan clicked his tongue. He had now accumulated 4 Emperor Summon cards and 4 Sage Summon cards. Soon he would be able to summon immortals. Additionally, the Ultimate Illusion Tower could be used for his disciples' training. The Reincarnation Immortal Art and the Ultimate Skill could be passed on to his 2 new disciples. The only thing he could personally use seemed to be the 10 tons of Enlightenment Tea. Damn, 10 tons. Isn't that too much? It'll take me ages to finish. I'll have to reward it to the disciples. As Chen Xuan headed toward the main peak, he mentally tallied the system rewards. Meanwhile, a colossal tower as massive as a mountain began to materialize on the sect's open ground, gradually solidifying from ethereal to tangible, ultimately forming a towering edifice. At the sudden appearance of the colossal tower, Lin Fan and Yi Qingqing were both startled, exclaiming in shock. Master, look quickly. A giant tower has appeared. Roused by his disciples' clamorous exclamations, Chen Xuan cast a glance at the ultimate illusory tower and began to lecture with a serious demeanor. Disciples, there is no need for such alarm. This tower is the ultimate illusory tower. When cultivators enter, their spirits will venture into various secret realms and perilous situations conjured by the tower, while their physical bodies remain completely unharmed. It is a facility for the disciples of this sect to cultivate. You may also try it when you have time. As my direct disciples, you may enter the tower without any restriction. Such a powerful function. The body remains unharmed. Doesn't that mean one possesses an indestructible form? In an instant, Lin Fan and Yi Qingqing were profoundly astounded. After all, cultivators experience battles more than anything else. Only through combat can one continuously break through their limits. But battle often accompanies death. If such a training tower existed, wouldn't it greatly reduce the peril of life and death on the path of cultivation? Moreover, his direct disciples faced no restrictions. Did that mean those who were not the master's personal disciples would be limited? And as the master's personal disciples, they could go whenever they wished, completely free from any constraints. Heavens! Becoming the master's disciple was truly fortunate. They could enjoy the best treasures first. For a time, Lin Fan and Yi Qingsheng were speechless with excitement. Ding! A 10-star potential disciple has been detected and will appear near the Rule's secret realm in 7 days. Host, please prepare in advance and go to recruit the disciple. Before the main peak's sect leader Chen Xuan had yet to catch his breath when the system's disciple recruitment prompt sounded again. 7 days later. We'll deal with it in 7 days then. Chen Xuan didn't even bother to consider it and directly ignored the system's prompt. Wasn't it 7 days away? There was still plenty of time. No need to worry about it for now. With this thought, Chen Xuan slightly raised his finger and a book materialized in the hands of both Yi Qingsheng and Lin Fan. He instructed, "You two, one with a reincarnation physique and the other with an ancient sword physique. I bestow upon you corresponding cultivation techniques and divine abilities. Cultivate them diligently. In 7 days accompany me to the Rule's secret realm to recruit a new disciple." Yes. The two quickly bowed in salute, then each took their books to peruse. Lin Fan's reaction was relatively composed, having already seen the immortal scripture. Encountering the peerless divine technique now did not astonish him as much. Although peerless divine techniques were the most powerful in the world and largely lost to time, they were still slightly inferior compared to the immortal scripture. In contrast, Yi Qingsheng was far more shaken. Gazing at the reincarnation immortal scripture in her hands, her reaction mirrored Lin Fan's first encounter with the immortal scripture. Her eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. An immortal scripture. It's an immortal scripture. The Misty Sect even possesses an immortal scripture. This is terrifying. She clutched the scripture excitedly, at a loss to describe her current state. After all, through 9 cycles of reincarnation, she had never seen an immortal scripture in any lifetime. No wonder she could never defeat Long Shi in each life. The legacy Long Shi had inherited was far greater than she had ever imagined. With such a fearsome sect, it would be truly absurd to think one could overcome it. What you are learning are immortal scriptures and peerless techniques, which may be challenging to. I will give you some enlightenment tea leaves. If you encounter difficulties, use them to gain insights. If you still have questions, you may come to me. With that, Chen Xuan grabbed at the void, producing 2 handfuls of enlightenment tea leaves and tossing them toward the two. As they saw the floating tea leaves before them, they both trembled, their pupils contracting sharply. So many. Indeed, it was a lot. Far too many. They had expected the master to give each of them a single leaf. Who would have thought it would be a whole handful each? This handful must contain at least 100 leaves. Their master's generosity was truly overwhelming. Thank you for your gracious gift, master. Your disciples will cultivate diligently and bring honor to you and the sect. The two stowed away the enlightenment tea leaves and quickly expressed their gratitude. Go and cultivate. Chen Xuan nodded with satisfaction, preparing to enter the top floor of the ultimate illusory tower. But at that moment, Yi Qingsheng respectfully asked, "Master, your disciple has been away from home for several days and wishes to send a message to my family informing them that I have taken a master and joined the sect, so they need not worry. May I?" A transmission talisman could convey messages over long distances, but it would reveal the location of the sender. Hence, she dared not act without consulting. "You may. Since our sect has emerged into the world, we naturally are not afraid of revealing our location." Chen Xuan nodded in agreement, then took a step toward the ultimate illusory tower, vanishing instantly. Receiving his affirmation, Yi Qingsheng was thrilled and quickly clasped her fists toward the direction where Chen Xuan had disappeared, saying, "Thank you, master. Junior sister. These empty rooms are unoccupied. You may choose one at will. This senior brother must go cultivate. The Rule's secret realm in 7 days will draw many hegemon-level powers and forces from the nearby provinces. You should also cultivate diligently so as not to disappoint the master." As they left the hall, Lin Fan kindly reminded her. Yi Qingsheng immediately clasped her fists in gratitude and said, "Thank you for the reminder, senior brother. I have heard of the Rule's secret realm. It is said to be a remnant space from ancient times filled with countless heavenly treasures and restricted to cultivators under 30. By then, geniuses from the surrounding provinces will gather to compete. I will not let the master down. Work hard and strive to make a name for our Misty Sect in the battle at the Rule's secret realm." With that, the two entered their rooms to begin intense cultivation. Of course, Yi Qingsheng did not start cultivating immediately. She carefully placed the immortal scripture and enlightenment tea leaves by her bedside. Then she took out the transmission talisman to send a message to her father. After all, when she had left home, she had confidently declared that she would surely become an inner disciple of the Divine Sword Sect. Several days had passed, and the Divine Sword Sect's recruitment assembly had begun that very morning. If she did not reply to her family, they would inevitably worry. Father, your daughter has joined a sect, and is doing well. Do not worry. After speaking into the transmission talisman, Yi Qingqing sat cross-legged, and began to cultivate the reincarnation immortal scripture. Meanwhile, within the Yi family, one of the countless premier clans in the Wilderness Province, Patriarch Yi Changxing, along with all the family elders and the ancestor, was holding a mobilization meeting on the training grounds for the younger disciples. On the vast training grounds stood over 1,000 young disciples, most of them mere teenagers. These youths braved the scorching sun, all eyes fixed straight ahead. Before them stretched a long table spanning dozens of meters. Behind the table sat a long row of family elders. Even Yi Junlin, the family ancestor, was seated among the elders listening to Patriarch Yi Changsheng's address. Although the ancestor held the highest status in the family, this was the patriarch's moment, not his time to intervene. Even he, as the ancestor, could not break this rule. Such was the Yi family's code. Gazing at the 1,000 young scions on the training grounds, Yi Changxing spoke with a resounding voice, "My brave children of the Yi family. As everyone knows, cultivation is arduous, exhausting, and perilous. Yet countless people still flock to it. What is the reason? Is it for immortality? No. Is it to show off? No. It is to become strong. Yes. Why become strong? Perhaps many do not understand. But there is only one purpose for becoming strong: to protect oneself, to protect one's family, and to provide a shelter for future generations. Do not fear hardship or exhaustion. The family will be warmed by your presence through the seasons. We are grateful for you. Only with you does the family become more beautiful." Gulp, gulp. Yi Changsheng paused to take a sip of water. Then, gathering his voice, he proclaimed loudly, "Imagine decades from now, when you stand in my position, facing your sons, grandsons, and descendants. Without sufficient strength, how can they flourish and grow? How can they mature into adults? Just as when we were your age, without diligent cultivation and relentless effort, you would not enjoy such a comfortable environment to grow up in. You might constantly be oppressed by others. A powerful intruder might barge into your home, threatening your life and bullying your parents, brothers, and sisters. Therefore, the us of today is the you of tomorrow. The you of today is the us of the past. You are destined to become the pillars of the family, holding up the sky of our clan." Yi Changsheng grew more impassioned as he spoke, his voice rising. The children in the martial hall became solemn, sensing the consequences of neglecting their cultivation. Some of the more ambitious youths had already clenched their fists tightly, veins standing out on their small hands. Even the elders seated on both sides were visibly moved, inwardly admiring the infectious power of Yi Changsheng's speech. Seeing that everyone's emotions were sufficiently stirred, Yi Changsheng felt deeply satisfied. Raising his voice again, he shouted, "Come follow me in singing our Yi family battle anthem," he said amidst the wind and rain. "Ready, sing." He said, "What is this pain amidst the wind and rain? Wipe your tears, don't be afraid, at least we still have a dream." He said, "What is this pain amidst the wind and rain? Wipe your tears, don't ask why." Instantly, the voices of thousands in chorus resonated throughout the entire. Even the elders of the Yi family joined the chorus, their faces flushed with emotion. Truly, the first ancestor of the Yi family was a true great man. Not only did he invent the internal youth mobilization assembly, but he also composed the family battle anthem, he said. It was precisely because of these two inventions that the Yi family had stood unshaken all along. Whenever the family faced decline, one or two extraordinary individuals inspired by these two inventions would always emerge to lead the family back to prosperity. Thus, although the Yi family was not exceptionally powerful and had never ascended to a dominant position, they had always flourished without interruption. Their legacy never broke. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, the communication talisman in Yi Changsheng's bosom flickered a few times. He immediately bent down and whispered to the ancestor beside him, "Ancestor, I'll take my leave first. After the singing ends, you can announce the conclusion." With that, he tucked the talisman into his pocket and hurried away from the venue, returning to his own courtyard, where he eagerly retrieved the communication talisman. The reason for his excitement was that this talisman was linked to his daughter. Its flickering meant there was a message from her. Their family had been steadily accumulating resources. Now they were waiting for his daughter to join the Xinjiang sect as a key disciple, then leverage that connection to exchange resources with dominant powers, amass wealth, and ultimately complete their transformation into a dominant force. Thus, he held great expectations for news from his daughter Yi Qingsheng. The entire family shared that anticipation. Yi Changsheng took a deep breath and infused spiritual energy into the communication talisman. Soon Yi Qingsheng's voice came through, "Father, your daughter has entered the sect. All is well, worry not." Entered the sect? Ah, wonderful. Hearing his daughter's words, Yi Changsheng let out a long sigh of relief. But after listening again, he still hadn't heard whether she had become a disciple of the sect master, nor any details about the test process. This left him somewhat puzzled. After some thought, he decided to get to the bottom of it. So he sent a message, Qingqing, have you become a disciple of the Xunjian sect's master? Was the entry test difficult? Father knew you wouldn't disappoint him. Once you're in the sect, make sure to get along well with your senior brothers and sisters. He'll send someone to bring you some spirit tools and elixirs to gift them and build good relations. Swish. The message was sent. Moments later it reached the Piao sect, startling the cultivating Yi Qingqing. She picked up the talisman with some reluctance, but still listened. Upon hearing her father's questions, she found herself at a loss for words. She had not joined the Xunjian sect, but the Piao sect. After hesitating for a moment, Yi Qingqing finally decided to tell the truth. So she sent a message, "Father, I am indeed a disciple of the sect master. Also, the test wasn't difficult because there was no test. The sect master took me in after a single look. Don't bother sending elixirs. Right now there are only 2 disciples in the sect, myself and a senior brother. The older generation disciples have all become elders." Swish. The message was sent. When Yi Changxing heard these replies, he was completely dumbfounded. No test. Only 2 disciples. The older generation disciples have all become elders. Is this the Xunjian sect? Which sect could be this absurd? Damn, had his daughter been tricked? He had repeatedly warned her not to trust those people in Xinjiang City. Thinking this, Yi Changxing grew frantic and said excitedly, "Daughter, did you really join the Xunjian sect? Tell me you haven't been scammed." Yi Qingqing, "Father, to be honest, I joined the Piao sect." Yi Changxing. At that moment, Yi Changxing clutched the communication talisman, wanting to cry, but having no tears, utterly devastated. His daughter. She had actually been deceived. He exclaimed, "How did a completely unknown sect manage to trick you into joining them?" Daughter, come back immediately. The Xinjian sect's recruitment assembly lasts only a few days. If you miss it, you'll have to wait years. Come back now, do you hear me? Yi Qingqing. Father, you're not allowed to speak ill of the Piao sect. The master will be upset. And the Piao sect is not as worthless as you claim. The Piao sect is a reclusive great sect in Huangzhou. Since it has only recently emerged, it's normal that you haven't heard of it. Moreover, this place is a celestial realm. The cultivation environment is 10,000 times better than the Xinjian sect. Your daughter's cultivation speed is soaring, and the master has given me a celestial scripture to cultivate. Yi Qingqing listed all the advantages of the Piao sect to her father. But how could Yi Changxing believe such nonsense? A reclusive sect, slumbering elders, a celestial realm, a celestial scripture. This was the perfect line to fool children. Even an idiot wouldn't fall for it. Qingqing, I command you to come back this instant, he roared. I won't return. I want to join the Piao sect. Father, don't try to persuade me. I'll give you a surprise later. With that, Yi Qingqing shut off the communication talisman and began to cultivate. After all, arguing endlessly would get them nowhere. Once she achieved great cultivation and shone brilliantly in the rule secret realm, he would understand that the Piao sect was truly a peerless grand sect. With this thought, Yi Qingqing smiled and entered cultivation mode. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yi Changxing, having received no further reply from his daughter, was nearly furious. The family's strongest genius, the entire hope of the Yi family, had been tricked into joining a completely unknown sect. Unacceptable. So he immediately took the communication talisman to find the ancestor, asking him to divine the location of the talisman so he could personally go and bring his daughter back. But when the ancestor learned that Yi Qingqing hadn't joined the Xinjian sect and had been lured away by an obscure minor sect, he was so anxious he nearly jumped up. What did you say? Qingqing was tricked away by some unknown sect. Boom. Upon hearing this, the ancestor was so anxious that he immediately gave Yi Changxing a hard snap on the head. I told you to go with Qingqing, but you didn't. See now? Qingqing has been tricked away. You infuriate me. If anything happens to Qingqing, don't blame me for turning against you. The ancestor glared with wide eyes, grumbling irritably. Although he was cursing, his hands never stopped working. Soon, by tracing the patterns on the communication talisman, he deduced the source location of the information. Found it. In the Langa Mountains. He'll go with you. With that, the ancestor tossed the communication talisman over and prepared to lead the way. Seeing this, Yi Changxing quickly stopped the ancestor and said, No need, ancestor. It's not a major sect. The entire sect has only 2 disciples. It must be a petty sect from the riffraff. I can handle it easily. Just wait at home for my news. With that, Yi Changxing soared into the air and flew toward the Langa Mountains. When he ascended into the sky, some families around saw this and were all bewildered. What's going on? Isn't the Yi family patriarch at the peak of the Spirit Sea realm? When did he break through to the Imperial Sky realm? And he doesn't look like a new breakthrough. He flies so steadily. Damn, Yi Changxing has been hiding his cultivation all these years. No wonder the Yi family has been so confident in everything. He's been a sly fox all along. Damn, where is he rushing off to in such a hurry? Did something happen to the Yi family? For a time, people in the surrounding cities were buzzing with discussion. Especially the head of the Sun family, the Yi family's longtime. At that moment, he looked up, clenched his fists, grinding his teeth in hatred. Very well, Yi Changxing. I never expected you to have hidden your cultivation. He muttered, but then his tone changed, and he sneered with a look of amusement, staring in the direction where Yi Changsheng had disappeared, muttering contemptuously. So what if he hid his cultivation? The fact that our Sun family's ancestor is about to break through to the spirit condensation realm, you probably don't know that either. When you see our spirit condensation realm ancestor, how wonderful will your expression be? Just thinking about it gets me excited. At the gate of the... After a day and a half of strenuous flight, Yi Changxing finally arrived at the coordinate location. Looking at the empty mountain gate, he sent a message to his daughter telling her to come out in a displeased tone. On the main peak, Yi Changxing, after a night of cultivation, slowly opened her eyes. Phew, I'm actually at the 8th level of the Spirit Sea realm. This cultivation environment is truly terrifying. Although she had cultivated for a night and a half, Yi Qingsheng had spent most of her time studying and comprehending the reincarnation immortal scripture. Actual cultivation was at most half a day. Just that allowed her to forcefully break through 2 minor realms. This shows how terrifying the environment of the Misty Sect is. Swish swish. At that moment, the communication talisman placed beside the bed flickered. She glanced at it and finally decided to listen. After all, she had ignored several previous messages. Daughter, come back, Dad begs you. Are you coming back or not? Don't make Dad angry. Dad can be really scary when he's angry. When I come over and tear down your sect, you'll see. Daughter, come out. I've already arrived at the gate of the Misty Sect. If you don't come out, don't blame me for barging in and making trouble without saving face for you. After the last message sounded, the communication talisman fell. Yi Qingsheng was startled, whooshed off the bed and ran outside while sending a message to her father. Dad, don't act rashly, you'll be right out. With that, she hurriedly pushed open the door and rushed down the mountain. To be honest, she never expected her father to come in. She began praying inwardly that her father wouldn't do anything rash. If he really barged into the sect and her master blamed her, she wouldn't know how to plead for. Soon at the sect gate, Yi Qingsheng saw her father, Yi Changxing, standing there surveying the surroundings, and she secretly sighed in relief. Quickening her pace to reach Yi Changxing, she said reproachfully, Dad, why are you here? Daughter. Yi Changxing's eyes lit up, and he began to look Yi Qingxing up and down. This made Yi Qingxing feel uneasy, and she said speechlessly, Dad, what are you looking at? Do I have flowers on me? Few good, no harm done. You stubborn girl, come back with me now. After seeing Yi Qingxing unharmed, Yi Changxing grabbed her hand and started to pull her away. Yi Qingxing was almost rendered speechless by her father. She stood still, her feet rooted, and patiently explained, Dad, I can't go. I am a disciple of the Misty Sect. I cannot leave the sect without permission. You infuriate me. The Misty Sect, huh? Fine. In that case, let me see what's so special about this Misty Sect that it has bewitched you. Unable to pull his daughter, Yi Changxing got angry, turned around, and charged into the sect. Seeing this, Yi Qingsheng was startled and quickly blocked him, saying, Dad, you cannot barge into the sect. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain to my master. To hell with explanations. If you can stop me. Yi Changxing sneered and insisted on charge. Helpless Yi Qingsheng had to throw a punch, repelling Yi Changxing, and pleaded gently, Dad, if you keep forcing your way, and don't blame me for using force. Yi Changxing. Fine. For a lousy sect, you actually dare to lay hands on me. Today I will tear this sect apart. With that, Yi Changxing began to counterattack. For a time they exchanged blows back and forth. But as the fight progressed, Yi Changxing was surprised to find that his daughter's strength was even greater. Although he realized that his daughter had broken through, no matter how much she broke through, she was still in the Spirit Sea realm. While he was at the 4th level of the Imperial Sky, for a moment without using his full strength, he actually couldn't hold his ground. Dad, can you stop messing around? If you really want to go in and take a look, behave yourself. He'll report to Master later, and only if Master agrees can I let you in. Not bad. Your combat power is getting stronger. Let's see if you can really stop me today. Yi Changxing evaded the question and immediately increased his fighting strength. Then, taking advantage of Yi Qingxing's momentary distraction, he dashed toward the sect. Oh no. Watching her father's retreating figure, Yi Qingsheng began to prepare her words to plead for forgiveness later. After all, the other party was her father, she couldn't really use special means against him. Boom. The moment Yi Changxing's body passed through the sect gate, an overwhelming surge of spiritual energy assaulted him from all directions. Instantly, countless heavenly laws and Tao resonances began to manifest sporadically. Yi Changxing trembled all over, reflexively stopped in his tracks, and stood frozen in place. Is this a celestial realm? His head spun the world, tilting. He felt as if his soul had left his body, his entire being floating in bliss. For a moment, he forgot the purpose of his entry and instantly sank into enjoyment. The ultimate illusory tower. The top floor. Chen Xuan opened his eyes, and a galaxy flickered within his gaze. The ultimate illusory tower. Still too weak. With a flicker, his figure vanished and instantly appeared before Yi Changxing. Startled, Yi Changxing, who had been reveling in delight, snapped back to reality. With a flicker, his figure vanished and instantly appeared before Yi Changxing. Startled, Yi Changxing, who had been reveling in delight, snapped back to reality. Who are you daring to trespass into the Misty Sect? Chen Xuan uttered a faint sentence, his voice thunderous and piercing, causing Yi Changxing to tremble violently, unable to resist the urge to worship. That feeling was even more intense than meeting the Sword God Sect's sect leader. Could he be the Misty Sect's sect leader? Yi Changxing's heart tightened, and for a moment he didn't know how to explain himself. For he realized this sect was indeed different from what he had imagined. Overwhelming spiritual energy and the laws of heaven and earth and Tao resonance entwined everywhere. Calling it a celestial realm wouldn't be an exaggeration. It might truly be a reclusive super sect. And he had trespassed into a super sect. How could he explain this now? For a moment, Yi Changxing grew fearful, rapidly searching for excuses. But fortunately at that moment Yi Changxing walked over and explained on his behalf. Master, this is my father. I am guilty of bringing him into the sect without permission, and I beg for your punishment. As she spoke, Yi Changxing knelt with a thud. Seeing this, Yi Changxing snapped to his senses and quickly knelt, as well urgently saying, Senior sect leader, please forgive me. I learned my daughter had joined the Misty Sect, and out of paternal love trespassed. Punish me, not her. At that moment he fully believed his daughter's words. He clearly sensed the Misty Sect's power and mystery. The Sword God Sect couldn't compare, so he felt no resistance at all. Only reverence remained. Since you are King Sheng's father, I will pardon you. But if it happens again, I shall not be lenient. Rise. Upon hearing that the man was Yi Changxing's father, Chen Xuan magnanimously refrained from anger. After a few words of caution, he gently raised his hand, lifting both from the ground. Feeling the force enveloping him, Yi Changxing was awestruck once more. For even this single surge of power rendered him helpless to resist. Clearly his daughter's words were all true. Thank you, senior sect leader. I shall remember your teachings. Thank you, master. The two quickly clasped their fists in gratitude. No need for formality. Since you're here, let us speak in the hall. Chen Xuan nodded and waved his hand. The three soared into the air, spinning through a whirl of sky and earth, and in the blink of an eye appeared in the grand hall. Then with another wave, 2 cups of tea appeared on the table. With a slight smile he said, Clan leader Yi has traveled far. This humble tea is a token of respect. Please, I dare not thank you, senior. Yi Changxing couldn't bring himself to refuse. He sat cautiously and reached for the tea. But when he saw the leaves in the cup he shuddered and blurted out, Tao Enlightenment tea. 2 leaves. Yes, the tea in his hand was actually Tao Enlightenment tea. And there were 2 leaves. Heavens, this was such a precious treasure. His daughter's master used it to entertain guests. With 2 leaves? This was such a waste. Instantly Yi Changxing was stunned beyond measure and hastily began to drink with both hands. After finishing the tea, he even rolled the leaves into his mouth, leaving not a single drop. The Tao resonance within the tea made him close his eyes in reverie. In that moment, years of cultivation puzzles were completely resolved. When he opened his eyes again, he seemed like a changed man. Overwhelmed with excitement, he realized the Tao Enlightenment tea was indeed as legendary, a miracle for insights. Seeing this, Chen Xuan waved his hand and filled another cup for Yi Changxing. Yi Changxing quickly clasped his fists in thanks and eagerly drank it all in one gulp. He even licked the leaves with his tongue, reluctant to leave any residue on the cup. His exaggerated way of drinking left Yi Changxing speechless, but she couldn't admonish him in front of her master, so she coughed to catch her father's attention. Ahem. Yi Changxing showed no reaction, continuing to lick the cup. Ahem. She coughed again. This finally caught his notice. While licking the cup, he looked up in confusion. Daughter, what's wrong? Is your throat uncomfortable? If so, drink less tea and more water. Give me your cup. While licking the cup, he looked up in confusion. Daughter, what's wrong? Is your throat uncomfortable? If so, drink less. Yi Changxing's face darkened. She never realized her father had such thick skin. Chingcheng. Suddenly her master's voice came from the main seat. Yi Changxing jumped and quickly rose, clasping her fists. Disciple is here. Since your father is here, take him around to ease his mind. Chen Xuan seemed to sense they had things to discuss and smiled as he gave the order. Hearing this, Yi Changxing quickly bowed in thanks. Yes, thank you, master. Then she subtly waved at Yi Changxing, signaling him to rise. Only then did Yi Changxing reluctantly get up, clasp his fists to Chen Xuan, and follow his daughter out of the grand hall. Daughter, this is truly a wonderful place. Outside the hall, gazing at the picturesque scenery and abundant spiritual energy, Yi Changxing sighed in admiration. Without the sect leader nearby, he felt less constrained and much more relaxed. Who was it that said the Misty Sect wasn't good? Yi Changxing pouted and retorted. But before she could finish, Yi Changxing quickly covered her mouth, glancing around warily, and whispered, Shh, quiet. Don't let the sect leader hear. Humph, humph. Seeing her father's growing reverence for her sect, Yi Changxing felt a surge of pride and let out a few humps of triumph. Ching. Father was wrong before. I misjudged without looking into things. Now cultivate well here and never disappoint your master. The rise of our Yi family depends on you. Of course I know I must cultivate diligently. Father, let me show you around. Master said I should take you around to set your mind at ease. Yi Changxing rolled her eyes and began to lead the way. I'm at ease, completely at ease. Yi Changxing quickly forced a smile, then muttered under his breath. Once you have a master, you forget your father. Whatever the master says, you listen, but not your father. What did you say, father? Yi Changxing turned back suddenly. Yi Changxing beamed. Nothing. I said your master is so kind, treating me with Tao Enlightenment tea on our first meeting. As he spoke, he carefully pulled 6 Tao Enlightenment tea leaves from his mouth and pressed them into his daughter's hand. Daughter, hey, race a treasure for you. Hide it quickly, don't let your master see. Yi Changxing. Staring at the crumpled wet tea leaves in her father's hand, she nearly vomited the meal from 3 days ago. She clenched her fist tightly, refusing to open it no matter how her father pried. Take it, you silly girl. I saved these for you, didn't even eat them myself. Yi Changxing hissed in frustration. Watching her father's flustered and exasperated demeanor, Yi Changxing felt a surge of emotion in her heart. Though it was a bit disgusting to retrieve the enlightenment tea leaves from his mouth, it was after all a gesture of his fatherly kindness. It was just like when she was a child. Whenever she saw her parents eating something delicious, she would always snatch it and stuff it into her own mouth, never considering whether they had already eaten from it. Yet moved as she was, she had grown into a young woman now. How could she still snatch food from a tiger's mouth? Besides, it was terribly indecorous. Yi Changxing rolled her eyes and said helplessly, Father, you should just eat them. My master has already given me some. With that, she brought out a handful of enlightenment tea leaves to show Yi Changxing. Good things are never too many. Before he could finish the last word, Yi Changxing's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets, and he blurted out a coarse exclamation. Holy crap, that many. Yes, that many indeed. It was a whole handful. He had treasured his mere 6 leaves as priceless, yet his daughter had obtained an entire. So the sect master of the Misty Cloud sect truly regarded his daughter as a disciple. For a moment, Yi Changxing was overwhelmed with excitement, and he immediately became even more restrained. Since others were kind enough to nurture his daughter, he must set a good example and leave no unfavorable impression. In an instant, he even paid more attention to his posture, exclaiming with fervor, Good. Father, take some for yourself. I can't use that much alone. Yi Changxing offered half to Yi Changxing, but he immediately stepped back and refused. No, the sect master gave these to you. You must never give them to anyone else, not even your own father. Otherwise, if the sect master gets angry, it would be disastrous. I have these 6 leaves and can't finish them. He'll go back and share them with your ancestor and the clan elders. With that, he stuffed the 6 enlightenment tea leaves back into his mouth. Yi Changxing. Father, can you not be so embarrassing? As the father and daughter whispered to each other, Lin Fan emerged from the cultivation tower. Seeing them huddled together, he asked curiously, Junior sister, what are you two up to? The sudden voice startled Yi Changxing, making him jolt. Senior brother, nothing much. My father came to visit me, and my master asked me to show him around. Yi Changxing quickly greeted Lin Fan and explained the situation. Upon learning that the man was his junior sister's father, Lin Fan became courteous. He immediately clasped his fists and bowed to Yi Changxing. So you are Uncle Yi. I am King Cheng's senior brother. Greetings, Uncle Yi. Hello. Yi Changxing greets you, Brother Lin. I hope you will take good care of my daughter in the future. Yi Changxing respectfully returned the bow. Lin Fan was startled and quickly returned the gesture. Then Yi Changxing hastened to bow again. In no time, the two of them turned into bowing machines. They bowed to each other in turns. Oh, senior brother. My father and I have something to attend to. He'll chat with you later. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, Yi Changxing hurriedly pulled her father away. Sometimes she felt truly helpless. In all her 9 reincarnations, none of the embarrassing incidents she encountered could compare to the shame her father brought her in this life. Watching the father and daughter's retreating figures, a flicker of envy passed through Lin Fan's eyes. Unfortunately, he was all alone with no family. But from the day he joined the sect had become his home and his fellow disciples his family. Lin Fan turned and headed toward the main hall to continue seeking guidance on the cultivation difficulties he faced. In the afternoon, after half a day of touring, Yi Changxing had fully grasped the sect's formidable power. Before leaving, he came once more to bid farewell to the sect master. In the grand hall of the sect master, Yi Changxing sat respectfully in the lower seat. After finishing his cup of enlightenment tea, he stood up, clasped his fists, and said, Senior sect master, your esteemed sect has just emerged and is not well acquainted with the outside world. Although the Yi family is not a hegemon in the Wilderness Province, it is still a great. If the Misty Cloud sect ever has need of the Yi family in the future, please do not hesitate to command us. The Yi family will spare no effort. Ding. Detected the Yi family's pledge of loyalty. How can a mighty sect lack vassal forces? Please host accept the Yi family as a vassal and grant them a token of favor. Reward 19 bins Yellow River Grand Array. Nine Bin's Yellow River Grand Array contains the mysteries of heaven and earth possessing the power to bewilder immortals. Any being below the immortal realm who enters will surely perish. None but immortals can break this array. It is a perfect mountain-protecting grand array combining offense and defense. Suddenly the system's prompt rang out. Seeing the reward, Chen Xuan was slightly taken aback. This item's reward was indeed quite good. It could serve as a mountain-protecting array. But how was he supposed to give them a sweetener? After all, under normal circumstances, vassal forces paid annual tributes to their overlords, and only then would the higher-ups lend a hand when the vassals faced. But he, however, had no need for those tributes. After a moment of hesitation, Chen Xuan quickly came up with an idea. He smiled slightly and said, "Clan leader Yi, you flatter me. Our sect has just emerged and has no eyes or ears in the outside world. Would the Yi clan be willing to become a vassal under our Misty Cloud sect? Of course, our sect requires no tributes and can even offer a training slot for the vassal force. You may send one person to our sect for advanced training." Really? Instantly, Yi Changsheng's entire body trembled, and he was overcome with excitement. Becoming a vassal of the Misty Cloud sect. That was exactly what he had been thinking. After all, attaching oneself to a great sect, even if it meant paying tributes, could provide shelter for the family. But the fact that no tributes were required and a slot was offered was something he had never imagined. This was completely like a pie falling from the sky. He could hardly believe. Of course it's true. But as a vassal of our sect, you must be absolutely loyal and harbor no disloyalty. Chen Xuan nodded slowly. Now fully convinced, Yi Changsheng excitedly clasped his fists and began to swear. "I, Yi Changsheng, patriarch of the Yi clan, swear on behalf of the Yi family that from this day forward we shall become vassals of the Misty Cloud sect." Soon he fervently took a heavenly Tao oath professing his loyalty. Ding! Congratulations, host, on completing the task of accepting a vassal force. The Nine Bin's Yellow River Grand Array has been credited. Instantly the reward was delivered. Chen Xuan nodded in satisfaction once more and said with a smile, "Clan leader Yi from now on, the Yi family is a vassal of the Misty Cloud sect. Should you encounter any trouble, feel free to come to the sect for help. When you return, you can select a clan member for training. Our sect provides lodging, but not meals." "Yes. Thank you for your grace, sect master." Your subordinate takes his leave. Yi Changsheng gave another excited bow, referring to himself as subordinate to show his newfound allegiance, and then hurried away, eager to return and choose a clan member. A place like this celestial realm. If he could send just one person, it would be an immense fortune. Though that person wouldn't be an official disciple, it didn't matter. As for food and drink, he could manage on his own. After all, as long as one could stay in such an environment, even doing odd jobs would be a great opportunity. "Master, I'll see my father off," Yi Changsheng said, rising to accompany him. Chen Xuan nodded, and his figure vanished instantly as he went to set up the Nine Bin's Yellow River Grand Array. The entire hall was left with only Lin Fan. Looking at the empty hall, he rolled his eyes and got up to leave as well. Outside the sect, Yi Changsheng asked, "Father, who are you planning to send for training?" "Second cousin and sixth cousin have decent talent. Should we send them? Or maybe third cousin and ninth cousin. They're also quite talented." "None of them will do. The younger generation of our clan doesn't have anyone with exceptional talent." Yi Changsheng shook his head, immediately rejecting his daughter's suggestions. Yi Changsheng was taken aback and asked curiously, "Then who do you plan to send?" "You'll know when the time comes. Father must go now. Make sure you cultivate diligently." Yi Changsheng chuckled mysteriously, then leaped into the air and flew away. After a day and a half of relentless flying, Yi Changsheng finally returned to the Yi family. Looking at Yi Changsheng returning alone, Yi Junlin was bu. "Changsheng, where is Qingsheng?" "Ancestor. Qingsheng is cultivating." Yi Changsheng chuckled. Instantly, Yi Junlin, the elder of the Yi family, became angry, grabbing Yi Changsheng by the collar and exclaimed, "What? You didn't bring her back? What were you doing?" "Calm down, ancestor, let me explain." Yi Changsheng hurriedly recounted the wonders and strengths of the Piaomiao sect. After hearing this, Yi Junlin was obviously stunned and somewhat confused. "Is this for real? Are there places like this in the world? You're not lying to me, are you?" "It's true, ancestor. Moreover, I have already sworn allegiance to the Piaomiao sect, and from now on we will be a vassal force of the Piaomiao sect. Additionally, the sect master has granted us a spot for one person to cultivate in the sect. Is it really that good? Who do you plan to send?" Yi Junlin gradually began to believe Yi Changsheng's words. After all, as the head of a sect, what he said often concerned the fate of the entire sect, so he wouldn't be spouting nonsense. "Let you go?" Yi Changsheng smiled slightly. The elder was taken aback. "Let me go? At my age, would the sect master think I'm too old?" "No. It's anonymous anyway, it doesn't matter who goes. Our Yi family doesn't have many exceptionally talented members, and you were also highly gifted in your youth, so you are the most suitable to go." Yi Changsheng seriously analyzed this with the elder. The elder nodded thoughtfully upon hearing this. Although sending an old man like him to cultivate was somewhat awkward, it was indeed the best for the family. After all, he was already at the 9th layer of the Skyward Realm, and had lived for hundreds of years. If he didn't break through soon, he would truly die. By then Yi Qingsheng would not have grown up yet, and the family would suddenly lose a powerful figure which would surely plunge them into turmoil. Alright then, I will set off now. Don't rush. Ancestor, pack your clothes and personal items. The sect will cover accommodation, but not meals. Once you're packed, I will announce to the clan about our vassal relationship with the Piaomiao sect. Alright, I leave everything at home to you. I will pack my things right away. The elder Yi Junlin nodded, and he and Yi Changxing went their separate ways. After packing, Yi Changxing even organized a farewell gathering reminding the elder to cultivate well. With his bag on his back, the elder, Yi Junlin, wiped away his tears, waved goodbye to the clan members, and then leaped into the air, soaring away. The surrounding forces were again bewildered. What happened? If I remember correctly, the head of the Yi family just returned. How is their elder going out again? Strange, very strange. The Yi family elder seems to be carrying a bag. Is he going on a long journey to break through to the concentration realm? I remember his lifespan seems to be less than 10 years. Hurry to inquire about the Yi family. Did they discover some relic or something? Had we found out that the Yi family has become a vassal of a force called the Piaomiao sect, and their elder is going to cultivate there? Other forces. Another day and a half later, Yi Junlin arrived at the entrance of the Piaomiao sect with his bag on his back. Looking at the vast mountain and the overflowing spiritual energy, Yi Junlin completely believed Yi Changxing's words. Unable to help himself, he adjusted the bag on his shoulder and nervously knocked on the sect's grand formation. Yi Qingxing stepped out. After the grand formation was completed, the gatekeeping duties were also handed over to her and her senior brother. So when the grand formation sounded, she received the news immediately and came to open the door. However, when she arrived at the door and saw the figure with a bag on his back gazing into the distance, Yi Qingsheng felt a sense of familiarity. She tentatively called out a ancestor. Hearing the call, Yi Junlin slowly turned around. In an instant, the gentle breeze stirred, ruffling his beard. With the bag on his back and a beaming smile, he said, "Qingsheng, Yi Qingxing." After entering the sect, Yi Junlin quickly completed the necessary procedures. He first met the sect master under Yi Qingcheng's guidance, and then settled down at the foot of the mountain. Although he had no privileges and no identity as a candidate for cultivation, Chen Xuan still granted him the qualification to train in the ultimate illusion tower for 2 days each month. Yi Junlin respectfully thanked him, and then settled down completely at the foot of the mountain. However, as a candidate for cultivation, he was well aware of the sect's power and knew that he couldn't do nothing. So he dedicated half of his time each day to cleaning the sect, tending to flowers and plants, wiping the sect's stone pillars, and so on. The remaining time was used for cultivation. Thanks to his diligence, the sect's environment gradually became more refined. His cultivation level also started to rise rapidly. In just a few days, he broke through from the 9th layer of the Skyward Realm to the 2nd layer of the Concentration Realm. This made him feel even more mystified and powerful about the sect. Not only did he not feel embarrassed about sweeping the floors and wiping the pillars, but he also began to take pride in it. After all, in such a celestial realm, let alone doing chores, even being a slave would be an impossible dream. Additionally, due to Yi Junlin's good performance with no complaints and his ability to endure hardships, Chen Xuan showed kindness once and granted him the title of Elder of Miscellaneous Affairs to manage the miscellaneous workers in the future. This meant he had an identity within the sect. With the increase in the number of members, the miscellaneous staff also needed to be added. Since they were being added, they naturally required management. Moreover, the identity of a miscellaneous elder was still an identity. With the miscellaneous elder title, the Yi family had firmly established their footing in the Piaomiao sect. Countless years later, their descendants would feel fortunate for the ancestor's decision upon hearing his experiences. It was precisely because the ancestor worked hard and was loyal that their family produced numerous geniuses who rose in the Piaomiao sect. However, that was all in the future. The current Yi family, however, was subjected to countless ridicule from various forces due to the ancestor's actions. Many people secretly followed in Yi Junlin's footsteps, witnessing him cleaning the sect and sweeping the plaza outside the Piaomiao sect every day. Thus, this became a popular topic of gossip for many. Have you heard? The Yi family elder, Yi Junlin, is sweeping the plaza in a third-rate sect. When I first heard he was going to cultivate, I thought it was some great opportunity. Turns out he's just becoming a miscellaneous worker. This cracks me up, ha ha ha. The dignified elder who has lived for several hundred years instead of staying at home is learning from others to be a miscellaneous worker. The issue is there are better places to go. Even if he went to the Shunjian sect, he could at least become an outer sect elder, right? Yeah, even if he went to those small sects, he could still get a position as a protector or offering. After all, he is in the late stage of the Skyward Realm. He actually ran to an unknown sect to be a miscellaneous worker. I wonder which donkey kicked his head. I heard their new genius Yi Qingxing is also a TSK tisk. This family is done for. Next time we see the head of the Yi family, let's mock him together. Yes, let's mock him. Countless families and forces continued to mock the Yi family. But they did not know that in the near future the identity of the Yi family elder as a miscellaneous worker would hold tremendous power, and many top experts, even saints, would come crying to seek to become miscellaneous workers to be managed by him. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Time swiftly arrived at the day when the rule's secret realm would open. On this day, Chen Xuan brought his 2 disciples Lin Fan and Yi Qingqing and took off from the Luan ancient mountain range, heading straight for the rule's secret realm site. Along the way, he did not forget to instruct his 2 disciples. Lin Fan Qingqing, given your cultivation levels, I am not worried about others contending with you inside the rule's secret realm. But one must guard against the malice of others. Moreover, the secret realm is perilous. As fellow disciples, you must look out for each other and not bring shame upon our Misty Cloud sect. Yes, Master. This disciple will surely take care of junior sister. Rest assured, Master. This disciple has cultivated these past days and has already reached the 7th heaven of imperial flight. Those below 30 who have reached this realm are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. This disciple will also take care of senior brother. Yi Qingqing declared proudly, cupping her hands. Breaking through several minor realms in 7 days, including a major one, had already made her feel as if she had reached the pinnacle of her life. After speaking, she smiled sweetly and could not resist glancing smugly at Lin Fan, boasting, senior brother, what realm have you reached? Your unworthy senior brother has just broken through to the 9th heaven of imperial flight. Lin Fan smiled calmly and stated his realm. The 9th heaven? No way. Instantly, Yi Qingqing's expression froze, dumbfounded. She had thought her senior brother's realm was at most similar to hers. Who would have guessed he was actually 2 minor realms higher? But thinking about it, it was quite normal. After all, Lin Fan was an existence that would become astonishingly powerful 10,000 years later. Being outclassed by his disciple and unable to catch up to him was only natural. So she said cheerfully, senior brother is truly formidable. Then in the secret realm, I will have to rely on senior brother to take care of me. Rest assured, junior sister. Even if it means braving mountains of blades and seas of fire, your senior brother will protect you. You are my own sister. Lin Fan replied solemnly, instantly touching Yi Qingqing's heart. Senior brother is such a good person. Thank you, senior brother. But your junior sister is no pushover either. She curled her lips, her face full of confidence. After all, she still retained all the skills she had accumulated over 9 lifetimes of reincarnation. Then the 3 chatted and laughed as they gradually disappeared into the sky, leaving the miscellaneous affairs elder, Yi Junlin, to guard the empty sect alone. The rule's secret realm was so named because only cultivators under 30 years old could enter. Moreover, its internal space was vast, containing many ancient rare beasts and exotic creatures. However, the internal rules were chaotic. In one place the sun might be blazing, but a few steps forward could bring the bitter cold of winter. Irregular seasons, chaotic space, varying time flows, inverted sun, moon, and stars. All kinds of disordered rules appeared in the same place, hence the name Rule's Secret Realm. This secret realm was located at the edge of the Wasteland Province, at the intersection of 3 provinces surrounded by the Wasteland Province, Cloud Province, and Azure Province. Every time the realm opened, it attracted cultivators from several surrounding provinces to explore. At this moment, outside the entrance of the secret realm, it was packed with people. A single glance showed that every mountain peak was crowded with cultivators. Many were discussing matters within the secret realm before it opened. Did you hear? This time several super forces are also sending people into the Rule's secret realm. Is that strange? They've gone in before too. What's all the fuss about? It's different, completely different. Before, while disciples of super forces did enter, the sects themselves didn't interfere. It was purely a personal matter for the disciples. But this time several major super forces have all sent their strongest disciples. Really? Is there something good inside that has even the super forces coveting it to the point of dispatching their strongest disciples? According to someone who entered the last time, a special valley with a remnant appeared containing a peerless divine technique, the Great Void Art. It was left behind by a great sage from ancient times. It is said that this time each major super force is sending their strongest prodigies to comprehend the Great Void Art and bring it back to their sects. A peerless divine technique. Really? I wonder if we'll encounter it. Even if we do, we wouldn't be able to use it. It requires comprehension. The disciple who discovered the ancient great sage's ruin last time lacked the talent. He found clues, but could not understand it. That's why they're all sending their strongest prodigies this time. I also heard that the Flying Heaven sect has sent their strongest disciple, Yun Feiyang. What? Yun Feiyang is coming. The one with a mysterious background whose talent shook the Flying Heaven sect's ancestor upon entry, the peerless prodigy, who has been kept hidden by the sect and never appeared. Yes, not just him, but also Taihe sect's disciple Li Taishan and Wuji sect's disciple Zhao Ritian. Wow, all 3 prodigies are coming. It looks like the Rule's secret realm is about to be turned upside down. Just after landing, Chen Xuan and the others overheard the discussions of others. Upon hearing the names of these 3 prodigies, even Lin Fan and Yi Qingsheng were slightly taken aback. Super forces were powers that surpassed overlord-level forces, hence the name super forces. Every super force had reached the pinnacle of power. Without exaggeration, the next step for a super force was the Holy Land level. They had not expected that super forces would send their strongest prodigies to compete for the divine technique. However, they were determined that the Misty Cloud Sect would claim this divine technique. As this was the Misty Cloud Sect's first foray into the world, they would not allow the sect to be shamed even by super forces. Look, the Flying Heaven Sect's worship is here. Suddenly someone shouted, and everyone looked up in unison. At the edge of the sky, a super warship had appeared. The warship was ancient and heavy, though not large. It was 100 meters long. It slowly approached and hovered above the crowd. At the edge of the warship stood some elderly figures gazing into the distance. Clearly they were sect elders personally escorting their sect's prodigies. But before the crowd could envy them, another anomaly arose from a different direction. A thunderous roar echoed. From another direction, a 100-meter-long flood dragon burst forth. The flood dragon circled in the sky, pulling a 3-story black palace behind it. It also stopped above the crowd. Its entrance style was utterly imposing, even more majestic than the Flying Heaven Sect's worship. That's the Wuji Sect's Great Elder's Mount, the 7-colored flood dragon. Heavens! The Wuji Sect's Great Elder personally escorted the sect's disciples. These prodigies are too damn impressive. Tisk, a flood dragon pulling a palace. Inside must be the Wuji Sect's strongest prodigy, Zhao Ritian. It is said that Zhao Ritian is the personal disciple of the Wuji Sect's Great Elder, hailed as the future hope of the sect, no weaker than Yun Feiyang. No wonder the Great Elder came personally. For such a prodigy, any sect would ensure absolute safety. Amidst the crowd's exclamations, the Taihe sect's warship also arrived as scheduled. Thus the 3 super forces stood in 3 positions, quietly waiting for the secret realm to open. Watching the entrances of the 3 super forces, Chen Xuan felt a bit helpless. The way these people escorted their prodigy disciples was far too thorough. But if he really compared as an emperor-level powerhouse, personally seeing off his disciples' style should not be too shabby either. Such things our sect looks down upon. Flood dragons are meant to be eaten, not shown off. Another day your master will stew a flood dragon for you, Chen Xuan explained to his 2 disciples. His disciples believed him without a doubt and nodded, saying, "Thank you, master." But though his disciples believed, others did not. Immediately someone muttered, "Humph. Bragging. Eating a flood dragon. Why not boast about splitting the sky? My master said he would stew flood dragon, and he certainly will. How dare you question my master?" Hearing the murmurs, Lin Fan retorted with blazing anger. It was acceptable to question him, but never his master. Indeed, my master's words are beyond any doubt. Yi Qingsheng also glared at the doubter, her face as cold as frost. She was utterly serious in defending her master. The rogue cultivator, never expecting his casual remark to provoke such a reaction, quickly shrank back and dared not speak another word. Seeing this, Lin Fan and Yi Qingsheng could say no more. They coldly withdrew their gazes and obediently stood by Chen Xuan's side, making him feel that if he didn't catch a flood dragon to stew, he would be failing their filial devotion. However, before he could say more, Chen Xuan sensed the arrival of his 3rd disciple. He turned his head slightly to glance in her direction and immediately instructed the 2 beside him, Lin Fan, Qingsheng. The secret realm won't open for a while yet. Stay here and do not wander off. Your master must leave for a time. Yes. We bid you farewell, master. The 2 quickly cupped their fists in salute. Chen Xuan nodded, took a step, and vanished in an instant. The servant who had been muttering earlier saw this, his pupils constricting in shock. Good heavens, as the secret realm opened, powerful figures were indeed everywhere. He had thought it was just some insignificant minor sect, but it turned out to be a formidable expert as well. Fortunately, he had backed down quickly, or he might have died without knowing how. With that thought, the cultivator slunk away to stand even farther off. 100 li beyond the secret realm. At the entrance to a range of stretching mountains stood a girl of about 17 or 18. Morong Ingluo. Her features were delicate, her skin fair. She carried a cyan longsword and wore a form-fitting dress that defied the era, a garment unlike any other, both splendid and figure-enhancing. It gave her modest figure a well-proportioned, undulating silhouette that was particularly striking. That is, if she hadn't been surrounded. Hehehe, Morong Ingluo, surrender now. You're no match for us. A dozen or so men in black encircled her, tightening their ring. They were clad in black robes and masked, their identities concealed. Yet Morong Ingluo immediately recognized the speaker's voice and said with disdain, "You're the Jinbei King's men, aren't you? I've long known you plan to rebel. Could it be you can no longer contain yourselves? Heh, the princess indeed has sharp eyes. Since you know we intend to rebel, daring to leave the palace for the secret realm, you've got nerve. Or do you think a mere girl at the 3rd level of the void soaring realm can defeat someone in the spirit convergence realm?" The leader dropped all pretense and tore off his mask. When Morong Ingluo saw his face, her previous calm vanished, replaced by disbelief. "Louis Shou. Even you've come for me. Heh, not just him, me too. Whooshed. Another man ripped off his mask, revealing his face. It was none other than Lu Haidua, another trusted subordinate of the Jinbei King, also a spirit convergence realm expert. Seeing these two along with the dozen or so void soaring realm underlings around her, Murong Inglaw, who had remained composed until now, could no longer stay calm. She could perhaps handle one spirit convergence realm cultivator, but with two of them coming for her, the situation had become dire. Murong Ingluo tightened her grip on her longsword and said helplessly, "Sending two spirit convergence realm experts just to capture me, a mere third-level void soaring cultivator. Isn't that overkill? Am I truly that fearsome? I don't think we're unaware that despite being at the third level of void soaring, you can unleash the power of the spirit convergence realm. No more idle talk. Capture her and deliver her to the prince. Kill." Without further words, the two conjured massive translucent hands that swept down to seize Murong Ingluo. When did I expose myself? Murong Ingluo smiled bitterly. Fortunately, the exposure was not complete. If the Soul Hall found out, the ancestor would not be, so she quickly relinquished control of her body and silently said to the ring on her finger, "Ancestor, the control is yours." The Murong ancestor replied, and through her finger instantly took command of Murong Yingluo's body. In an instant, her aura surged dramatically as if she had become a different person. Raising her sword, she slashed the two giant palms in one stroke and fled deep into the mountains. The investigation was accurate. She does possess spirit convergence realm strength. Seize her. We cannot allow her to rise. The two pursuers exchanged a glance and shot off in pursuit. As the Murong ancestor controlled Murong Yingluo's body, he fled while scattering the formations prepared for the secret realm expedition. Formation after formation was thrown out, and the sight pained Murong Yingluo deeply. Though refining these formations was not difficult, without them she would face a hard time in the secret realm. The ancestor's soul was weak and could only take over her body a limited number of times. If the journey went smoothly, all would be well, if not, trouble awaited. Still, discarding the formations was unavoidable. She absolutely had to enter the secret realm to find treasures and boost her strength, striving to restore the ancestor's physical body as soon as possible. Otherwise, the Jinbei King would eventually rebel and wage war, plunging the Murong dynasty into chaos once more. As a princess, she might even end up being sent off for a political marriage, just like in the novels. She had no desire for such a fate. After all, she was a transmigrator. Yes, a transmigrator. She had come from a highly advanced technological planet, and upon arriving, she found herself a princess. But ever since she transmigrated, her father had constantly whispered in her ear about the Jinbei King's impending rebellion. Raised in that atmosphere, she had spent her entire childhood hearing news of the Jinbei King's possible insurrection. However, one day by accident, she stumbled into the ancestral tomb, knocked over a bottle, and released the Murong ancestor trapped inside. The Murong ancestor discovered her natural affinity for formations. She was a prodigy in the art. So he took up residence in her ring and began teaching her the knowledge of formations. She lived up to expectations, mastering the craft with increasing skill. But recently, with the Jinbei King's movements growing more frequent, her father had strictly forbidden her from leaving the palace, fearing for her safety. Yet as the Jinbei King's activities intensified, Murong Ingluo grew anxious. The Murong royal family and the Jinbei King were evenly matched in strength. If matters dragged on, once the Jinbei King rebelled, a great war would erupt. If they lost, it would be far more serious than a political marriage. Her entire family. This was not a war between nations, it was a rebellion. If the rebels succeeded, they would never let the royal family live. Therefore, a powerful figure was needed to crush the Jinbei King with overwhelming force and quell the internal strife. Thus she resolved to improve herself quickly, hoping to revive the ancestor and have him resolve the rebellion. Upon learning that the secret realm was opening and contained many treasures, she slapped her thigh and decided to sneak out. The ancestor fully supported her decision. Before setting out, they had refined numerous formations as a fallback. But they never expected the Jinbei King to discover her ability to temporarily boost her power and secretly plot to eliminate her. This forced her to prematurely use the prepared formations to block the pursuers. Otherwise, if she expended too much of the ancestor's power, now he would be unable to assist her in the secret realm. Sigh, why can't I meet a domineering master or a devoted senior brother like in the novels? Murong Ingluo sighed helplessly. According to the novels she had read, the female lead after transmigrating would always encounter a formidable or very overbearing male lead who would protect her, back her up, love only her, and be madly devoted to her. She didn't ask for such obsessive love, as she only hoped he would love her. Even if he loved several others at the same time, it would be fine. After all, having lived in the palace for so long, she had gradually come to accept the idea of men having multiple wives and concubines. Yet in over 18 years since her transmigration, she had encountered no domineering master, but plenty of worthless men. This seriously made her doubt the authenticity of novels. She would never believe in romance novels again. Behind them, Lu Yishou and Lu Haiduo seemed to know she was a formation master. Every time they saw her throw something, they chose to detour, not daring to. But before they had chased far, they inadvertently stepped into the formation area left by Murong Yingluo. Instantly, the surrounding environment transformed drastically. The dense forest turned into the grand hall of the royal mansion. Then a man with a dignified face wearing a crown walked out. Upon seeing him, Lu Yishou and Lu Haiduo trembled all over and immediately knelt on one knee, saying, "Greetings, your highness." "Useless. Can't even catch a girl. You should commit suicide." The dignified prince's voice was filled with rage. Hearing this, the two were startled. But they sensed something amiss. They hesitated for a moment. Just then the voices of their subordinates suddenly rang in their ears. "My lords, Lord Lu, what are you doing kneeling on the ground?" Hearing this, Lu Yishou and Lu Haiduo were stunned, realizing they were in the midst of capturing the princess and couldn't possibly be back at the mansion. Instantly they understood and slapped the phantom prince away. Then the surrounding environment reappeared, still the same mountain range. Further away stood their subordinates. "Damn it, that bitch's formations are becoming more and more unfathomable. Damn. Keep chasing." The two cursed and continued the pursuit. Meanwhile, Murong Yingluo was fleeing at top speed. But suddenly two black-clad figures blocked her path. Sensing the aura of the black-clad men, Murong Yingluo had no choice but to halt. Have 4 spirit condensation cultivators. It seems the northern pacifying prince won't give up until he succeeds. Murong Yingluo narrowed her eyes, her demeanor entirely unlike a young maiden, instead radiating a shrewd gleam of maturity. "You can't escape." The two black-clad men stood at 2 positions as still as bells. Though they didn't attack, she knew they were waiting for the 2 pursuers behind. Ancestor Murong also knew they couldn't delay any longer, so she suddenly raised her long sword and fiercely slashed at one of the black-clad men. Snow danced in the sky. Boom. A red sword dozens of meters long condensed in the sky, cleaving down toward the black-clad man, following Murong Yanren's motion. The black-clad man immediately conjured his own weapon to block, but he still underestimated the power of Murong Yanren. The weapon he conjured dissipated, but before Murong Yanren could flee, another black-clad man raised his hand and condensed a mountain, pressing it down upon her, like Mount Tai, forcing her to block it. Boom. The mountain was shattered. The dust cleared. Ancestor Murong was about to flee again, but Lu Yishou and Lu Haiduo from behind had already caught. Instantly, the 4 spirit condensation cultivators formed an absolute encirclement around Murong Yanren. "Ancestor, what should we do? Can we break?" Murong Yanren quickly asked in her mind. Though she had lost control, she could still see the surrounding scene. "I can, but once I unleash my true power, I may not be able to help you in the secret realm." Ancestor Murong's voice sounded somewhat helpless, calculating in her mind how to conserve her strength. But just at that moment, suddenly a strange figure appeared abruptly before Murong Yingluo. It startled Murong Yingluo, Ancestor Murong, and the 4 spirit condensation, because none of those present had noticed how this man appeared. Instantly, Ancestor Murong reflexively stepped back, filled with vigilance. If he was also the northern pacifying prince's man, then he would indeed have to use his full power. However, the reaction of the 4 spirit condensation cultivators then instead relieved the ancestor and granddaughter. "Who are you, sir? Please do not interfere in our affairs." Lu Yishou's expression changed as he asked in a deep voice. But Chen Xuan ignored them. Instead, he looked at Murong Yingluo with a smile. "Name Murong Yingluo, Transmigrator. Realm Sky Soaring Stage 3rd level. Constitution Innate Dao Body. Incomplete, replenish the missing Dao rhythm to activate the complete version. Potential 10 stars. Background: transmigrated from a yellow planet, became the princess of the Murong dynasty. Living daily under the shadow of the vassal king's impending rebellion, she accidentally shattered a vase in the clan grounds, releasing the soul of ancestral elder Murong Zhantian, and studied formations under him. Now she is heading to a secret realm to seek fortune, but the vassal king's subordinates discovered part of her secret and are intercepting her. A transmigrator and an innate Dao body. Not bad, not bad. Looking at Murong Yingluo's information, Chen Xuan grew increasingly satisfied, the corners of his mouth involuntarily lifting a little. Young lady, I see darkened energy between your brows, an omen of great calamity. Would you be willing to become my disciple and let me resolve this crisis for you? Who is taking a disciple here? Is his brain damaged? For a moment, everyone fell silent. After all, Chen Xuan's appearance was so eerie that they dared not be careless. Even Murong Zhantian quietly slipped into the ring, concealing his aura. He too was afraid that the other party was from the Soul Hall. After all, it was well known that the Soul Hall liked to capture souls. No matter how powerful the soul, they dared not confront the Soul Hall heathen. Oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. Seeing no reaction from the other side, Chen Xuan suddenly remembered he hadn't announced himself, so he added, I am the 108th sect master of the Misty Sect. If you become my disciple, I can help you clean up these little trash. Boom. As these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. The four spirit condensation cultivators instantly became wary. They were little trash. Were the people of Misty Sect so strong? They didn't even take spirit condensation cultivators seriously. For a moment the atmosphere was extremely eerie. Murong Yingluo was also at a loss, unsure whether to be delighted or bewildered. Could it be that her domineering master had finally appeared? For a moment her heart stirred. But this matter was of great importance as she couldn't decide hastily, so she quickly asked in her mind, "Ancestor, what should I do? She wants to take me as her disciple. Should I agree?" "Murong Zhantian, this person is far from simple. I can't see through him. Do as you see fit." Not getting the answer she wanted, Murong Yingluo finally decided to follow her heart. What if she got an awesome master? Wouldn't that be a meteoric rise? Even if she didn't soar, at least the immediate trouble would be solved. Perhaps with a powerful master backing her, the vassal king might not dare to rebel. Moreover, in novels such characters are usually big shots, the male lead. Once missed, it would truly be a loss. Thinking of this, Murong Yingluo blushed and began fantasizing about a long-running web novel of the female genre, one that contained plenty of adult content. "Are you going to take me as your master or not? If not, I'm leaving." At last this repeated reminder jolted her out of her reverie.